Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk episode 94. Today, I'm sat alongside George and Seth as we are going to be talking Tom Hardy. Obviously, the Bikeriders from director Jeff Nichols came out this week with Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, Tom Hardy, plenty of others. Honestly, a really great cast. But beyond that, we're going to do a little Tom Hardy filmography deep dive, give our rankings of our favorite Tom Hardy films. But with that, shout out to all of our executive producers as always. I got to update this text real quick. So hold on, live podcasting alert. But if you want to join our Patreon, check it out in the description down below. Shout out to our executive producers, Stefan Johnson, Sean Morales, and Stefan Nieburik. What is that? There's a Logic song like Gone for a Minute, but I'm back now. That's Stefan Johnson, the king. He's back as an executive producer. Took a little 1 week off, but he's back. So shout out to all of you executive producers making this happen every single week. And then shout out to all our patrons in general. Go check it out in the description down below. We have tons of great tiers. We're always in there talking to the Discord. I'm doing Patreon exclusive episodes every single Friday. This week it's going to be Nope, Jordan Peele's latest film.
Great review.
Check that out if you want to see the review. Yeah, we just finished recording it, so great review. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this episode. We'll just start off right off the bat with how we've been doing this week. So Seth, how have things been going?
Terrible. As I told you guys, won't go into it. Had a few doctor's appointments and stuff, which has been awful. I've been very, very busy as well because obviously I go away. What date is it, man? Next week. But I'll be on the pod next week.
Your little holiday.
Yeah, but I'll be on the pod next weekend anyway, so that's cool. Trying to set everyone up for that, but yeah, pretty terrible week. Sorry, I'm concerned. Watched a few good bits. Elden Ring DLC. Been smashing that. You may have seen my tweets. Follow me.
Yeah, we've seen them.
Yeah, cool. George, me tweeting about Elden Ring is like you tweeting about the New York subway. That's like the level where I'm at. I think, yeah, it came out on Thursday night at 12 a.m. or Friday morning, and I've played like too much, like 15 hours at this point. It's gonna be crazy. But yeah, that's come out.
It's like it's universally loved. The DLC is getting like universal praise as being like incredible.
I mean, every game they make, it's like So I won't go into too much detail because it's boring, but their DLCs, and this is the first DLC of theirs I've played, but are like full games. Like it's like a 50-hour long DLC. And for a game to have a 50-hour long DLC, that's like ridiculous for most people. Most games you get, they're like 40 hours average. You'll probably get an add-on of like 10 hours. You know what I mean? So it's a huge deal. So it's very, very exciting. But yeah, other than that, watched a good few things, which obviously we'll get into. That's kind of about it.
You bringing up George's Subway tweets reminded me of one where he like tweeted saying like it like was late and then it skipped like 4 stops. Yeah. Like what is it? And then someone replied and they're like, yeah, some
jerk off replied
on schedule. And then George replies to them. He's like, man, I wish if I was behind at my job, I was allowed to just skip things in order to get back on track. I was like, he's so mad and bitter right now.
That was a good tweet. That was an all-time tweet.
Yeah, this is so funny. Like, I don't even know if it's a follower, just like a random person in New York City who like was searching.
Dude, I looked at that guy's Twitter page and like he like pins himself as like the official like New York City subway news delivery guy. Like, and then if you look through his Twitter, it's all like updates on like delays, where each train is at, and shit like that. So fuck that guy.
It doesn't work for them.
I don't know. Fucking telling me, oh, they were behind on schedule, so they had to skip all of the stops. Like fuck you, fuck off, subway shit.
How's
idiots,
your week, George?
My week's been great. Thanks for ruining my weekend by bringing up the subway. But
you don't have to go anywhere today. And
I do. I have to go. I actually have to go to Jersey City today, so I got to take like 4 subways in the path to get there, which is dumb. But my week's been good. What did I do? I didn't do much. We had Wednesday off, for Juneteenth, and I'll never like complain about having a day off of work. But dude, having a Wednesday off is so like misleading. On Thursday at work, the amount of times I said like Tuesday as in tomorrow, even though tomorrow would be Friday, was insane. I kept thinking it was Monday. So like I had a good day off. I didn't really what did I do? I didn't do much on my day off. Did I do anything on my day off? I didn't do anything on my day off. But other than that, work was good. I saw Kinds of Kindness. I saw Wednesday night. I went to an early screening with Sophie and a couple of my friends. And then Thursday night was like the official New York City premiere. which like quick vent session. And I vented to Victoria about this. We got to update who we're inviting to these things because I'm at this Kinds of Kindness premiere and I heard two egregious things, two things that made me want to vomit on the spot. One, someone right next to me said, I don't even know who Yorgos Lanthimos is. Absurd. He just won like 6 Oscars and was probably the number 2 pick for Best Picture behind Oppenheimer. And then 2, some other dumb fuck said, oh, it's good to see Emma Stone back. I feel like she hasn't been in anything since Superbad. I wanted to punch that person in the fucking face. So this is, if anyone from whoever is in charge of inviting people to these movie events, if you're listening, please invite movie talkers. There are a bunch of us in New York. We're cool. We talk about film, and we actually enjoy these movies, and we actually know who these stars and actors and actresses and filmmakers are. It's very annoying sitting next to people who just don't love like film the way we do. It's very annoying, but I get it. They got millions of followers, and one TikTok from them being like, oh, I went to the New York premiere of Kinds of Kindness probably is a lot better than one like letterbox review from me that's probably a little bit towards the negative side anyways. But anyways,
George,
quick
one.
What's up?
You know when I went to the Martin Scorsese talk at the London Film Festival?
Yeah.
So I got invited to that, and I remember having a discussion. I won't out the person, and they said they said they'd never seen any of the films, and they thought the talk was really boring. I was like,
any Scorsese film?
It was a Scorsese talk, as in the same vicinity as the man, as in you could see him talking about his films and actors he's worked with for like an hour and a half, and they said it was boring. I was like, do you know the amount of people that would give anything to be there? Do you know what I mean? Who would pay so much fucking money, and they invite people who haven't even seen any of his films.
Yeah, like that's the thing crazy. Too. Like even Victoria was like, I'm surprised Alex didn't get invited to this Kinds of Kindness screening. It's like, why am I the only film talker there? I was walking around this after party. By the way, I didn't get a +1, which was kind of whack. So I'm by myself.
Did you go by yourself?
Yeah. I went by myself. Yeah, I was.
George,
Victoria was like, "Oh, it's gonna be cool." So I went by myself.
Wow,
and it was cool. It was at the moment.
I wouldn't do that.
But like, dude, I'm by myself at this after party. I know no one. Everyone is there, just with their phones out, constantly recording everything. No one's having any like intellectual conversation about the film. I'm looking around. I'm trying to spot one person, like literally anyone that I could even remotely talk to, and there was not one human being there that I recognized. It's like
that was like House of Dragon for me. I didn't get a +1, but I knew if we were going, and then we were like walking around. I was like, yeah, these are all like
this is such like a it's such a first world pretentious thing to be upset about. But dude, it's so annoying. Like the fact that someone flat out said, I am happy to see Emma Stone in something. I feel like she hasn't done anything since Superbad, made me want to cut my remaining testicle off. It is so insane, dude. Like, how is that allowed? How is that allowed? She just won Best Actress like 3 months ago.
For a second time.
For a second time. She has 2 Best Actress awards.
What's crazy is Superbad was literally her debut. So why would someone even be excited to see Emma Stone back if they've only seen her in one movie, which is Superbad, which is literally her first film in 2007 that she was like a supporting role in. So like, exactly. I guess if that's the only thing you've ever seen her, why would you be like, I'm excited for her to be back?
Like, it's not even her movie. It's like, fuck, man. What a... Oh, anyways, we'll talk about Kinds of Kindness next week. I'm very excited to see you guys' reaction. It's a good movie. It's a very good movie. I don't know if you read, that was probably like my longest Letterboxd review that I've written. But I even said in my Letterboxd review, like that review leans probably more towards negative if you just like read it. But like I promise you that's like a positive 3-star rating. I had a really good time with it. They were just things that didn't necessarily satisfy me on second watch as much as I would have liked them to. So I am curious to hear your thoughts, because I do think I'm going to be on the lower end of like the rating scale for my mutuals. This isn't like
it came out in New York. Was it New York and LA this week? You got like limited.
Yeah. I think New York and LA had the limited release. But yeah, I'm excited for you guys to watch and to see your reaction. And you know, we're doing the whole Yorgos episode next week, which I'm excited about because I do need to rewatch a lot of his films. A lot, as if he has a massive bag. He doesn't have a massive bag.
I think he has 9 feature films. Total.
Yeah, but there are, like, I definitely need to rewatch like The Lobster. I definitely want to rewatch Sacred Deer. I haven't even seen The Favorite, so there are just a lot of that I'm excited to finally check off my watch list. But that was my week. We're recording this on a Saturday morning, and beautiful, dude. It's been so hot, Tyler. I don't know how you're sending screenshots of 120 degrees in Arizona, but that is horrific. It's been like.
Well.
It's been like a consistent like 85 in the city over the last like 3 days, and I am dying, dude. It is so hot. It's
about the same
insane.
Here. Terrible.
It is
really?
insanity, man.
Heat sucks. I just want it sunny and 75 all the time or something like that with no humidity. Life would be so peachy. But yeah, my week.
Also, sorry. One thing that Victoria actually found out yesterday. So I'm sitting next to this woman at the Kinds of Kindness premiere. No idea who she is. Turns out she's the artist who sings that Brand New Bitch song. I forgot the lyric. Like the one like in the trailer where
the Kinds of Kindness trailer?
Yeah, the Kinds of Kindness trailer. The one in the trailer where Emma Stone is like dancing in front of her car.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a brand new bitch. That one. Yeah, I was sitting right next to her at the premiere and had no idea.
I'm trying to see who. So the one with Sweet Dreams are made of this, but that's not the one you're talking about.
No. The song's called Brand New Bitch. Song bangs. Like song.
Is it Angele?
Yeah.
Angeli?
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, my week's been good, been solid. I start my new job on Monday, so it feels like summer vacation's ending a little bit, even though I have been working prior, but it's like this role is going to be more work, more travel. So it's like darn little. It's going to be annoying now having to be, working a little longer hours, not being able to be as flexible with other stuff. But yeah, I've been playing some 2K this week with the movie talk guys. The night of the Kinds of Kindness premiere, I believe, was when Alex was on. I was like, well, Alex, why are you on? Shouldn't you be at the premiere? He's like, no, I didn't get invited. I was like, that's crazy. Like you were saying, George, like Alex, I thought would be like a shoo-in to be invited. But yeah, Cam like rallied the troops and said, let's all play 2K. So we all jumped on. It was me, K Meeks, Sammy J Reacts, Alex Coleman. And we all joined the Discord. And then we were about to join Pro-Am. We had 5. And then Cam just like left the Discord. Didn't say a word, didn't text us, didn't say anything the rest of the night. So like, oh, he just got Thanos snapped away and just never heard from him again. So then the rest of us we were thinking Owen was watching a movie. So we're just going to kill 90 minutes. So we're just doing nothing but chatting for a good old 90 minutes, and always good chats playing 2K with the guys. It's fun talking to all of them. You just learn so much lore about these movie talkers that you wouldn't otherwise know just from their content. But yeah, good times chatting with the boys. We played one game or 1.5 games. First game, I mean, it was so late by that point. We were so deep in chat that we weren't even really caring about the game. So we got cooked. But yeah. Don't know what I'm up to this weekend. I know Riley's going to her friend's baby shower today, so I think I'll probably just be doing work around the house. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. Pretty standard week. I'm gonna start traveling more for work, so hopefully it brings me New York City way. Maybe one day I'll go to London for work, and then I can just swing over up to Sheffield and then say, "Hey."
You wouldn't have to. As soon as you get in London, I'd already be that way.
Valid.
I'd already be that way.
Yeah.
Always.
But yeah, it's an engineering company, which means most of the locations are in the middle of nowhere. So probably Indiana is probably the most likely that I'll end up traveling to. But so Cam, maybe I'll be coming your way. Meet Mon Mothma Walsh. But now let's get into what we've been watching this week. Starting with Seth. Seth, what have you been watching?
Not much. I watched. When did I speak to you? I watched that stop motion. Didn't really get on with that. I'll give it 2.5. It was fine. I watched a few shorts from Maya Deren. Watched Abigail as well from this year.
Was that good?
2.5. Had moments. I like Dan Stevens a lot. I think Dan Stevens.
I feel like the only reason I asked because I feel like when the trailer was floating around, everyone was like, "Wow, this looks great! This is one environment in the house, vampire. It's gonna look fun." And then when the movie came out, I feel like people dropped their ratings, whatever, whether it was a 2.5, 3, 3.5, and then no one talked about the movie ever again.
Yeah, it's not. It's not bad. I mean, there's some cool moments, but yeah, it's not great. Obviously, Nope, which we spoke about. Really, really good Patreon review actually. So sign up if you want to hear our thoughts. Star Trek, which we spoke about. Knock at the Cabin. What a picture. Kendrick, Ken and Friends. The goat.
The murder
Bro,
of Drake.
Crazy. It's actually crazy.
4 hours of burying this man.
So good. Amazing. I watched obviously the Bikeriders, which again we'll touch on. Watched that last night. Watched probably the biggest Tom Hardy film I haven't seen, which is the second Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which obviously we'll go into.
Good
I
movie,
assume.
dude.
Paul Thomas Anderson, shout out.
Yeah. But yeah, watched that, and then that's kind of it this week. Obviously, been gaming a lot. Oh, sorry, Sasquatch Sunset, which I liked. I know George, you're not a fan. Well, say liked. I think liked is it's a 3 stars. I liked it more than I didn't. I think it's a really difficult one.
Respect, which
I actually kind of found it really like refreshing and tranquil for the first like 45 minutes, and I like it, and I like the avenue they were going in terms of like kind of this powerful endowment of humanity. But I think it would have worked better. I think the tone is kind of hard because it shifts a lot, and I also think when it hit the hour mark, I was like,
for me, it was like when it hit the 10-minute mark, I realized, okay, this is the entire movie, and that's where that's where I checked out. Like when I realized that this is truly like the next hour and 45 minutes of my life, that's where I was like, okay, this should have been a 15-minute short film. Yeah, that's it.
I said on my review, I would have liked to be like a 30-40 minute short. I think they could have got the message across that way, because there's a lot of scenes in the middle before the kind of dramatic, visceral ending that, you know, are just, well, nothing really. It's kind of hard to. Tyler, I'm intrigued to see if you watch. I'm intrigued to see what you all think. I think you'll probably like lean more towards me, maybe just a bit less. So it's worth a watch just to see kind of where you land anyway, which is kind of similar to what I said. I texted you guys about the Monsters last night. Rob Zombie's The Monsters, which I know.
Oh, did you end up watching it?
No, I didn't watch it, but it's like Saturday Sunset's kind of similar to where it's like, you know, you want to watch it just to see kind of where you fall on the spectrum. You know what I mean? But yeah, shout out The Monsters. Never seen it. Don't really like Rob Zombie.
Not shouting out the monsters, dude. don't give our podcast bad credit like that.
Oh god.
That's good. George, what have you been watching?
Let's see. Where does the week start? Kind of nothing, honestly. Unfortunately, I watched Perfect Days. I raised my rating from a 4 to a 4.5. I really liked it on rewatch a lot. Just a good wholesome movie, you know, that you got to watch every so often. The 2 Venom movies, which we'll talk about in a bit. A lot of Tom Hardy, mostly Tom Hardy, but not a lot. I also watched Locke. I watched Capone for the first time. So we'll get to those in a bit after you guys talk the Bikeriders. The Pop Out, Ken and Friends, just insane. That just 4 hours, 30 artists. Whatever it was, 20,000 people calling Drake a pedophile for 4 hours straight. Absolutely
imagine just being there to witness that. Like it is.
Dude, how do you recover from that? How do you
can't.
You simply, I don't know. You can't. Yeah. And Kinds of Kindness. That's really it. A lot of tennis again this week. There are a bunch of a lot of smaller grass court tournaments. There's the 4 majors. Then there's 9 Masters 1000s, which are like the next in line of the biggest tournaments. Every like major, usually you play a couple of clay court 1000s before the French Open. But there's no grass court 1000 tournament. There's only Wimbledon.
When is Wimbledon? I was going to ask you
that. In a week or Monday, maybe either this Monday or next Monday.
I was speaking to a gym this morning who's going to or their family's going. Apparently the seats are like
very expensive,
like quarterfinal or some shit. And apparently
they're very. It's
that's UFC, and then you're looking at that, and it's like that's just...
I don't even know what to compare it to in UFC, but like Wimbledon is like it is the prestigious tournament in like if you asked every single professional tennis player that is currently ranked in the world what tournament they would like to win the most, 98% of them are saying Wimbledon.
I would say like UFC, it's like having a Conor McGregor card, because that usually attracts the biggest audience. That's like what you pay.
Yeah,
you pay
it's all And it's held at the All England Club, which is like a very prestigious tennis like country club in London.
Get your strawberries and cream.
Get your strawberries and cream. You like I'll show up to the US Open wearing shorts and a t-shirt. If I ever went to Wimbledon, I would probably wear like a seersucker suit and Victoria would be in like a sundress or something. Like it's like an event. Wimbledon is like the prestigious tournament. So I don't know how tickets compare to like, I don't know, courtside at the US Open or the other majors, but I'd imagine Wimbledon is probably the most expensive by a good margin. But yeah, that's it. Tennis, a couple of smaller tournaments this week going on in Halle and in Queens, and then Wimbledon starting. So pretty excited about that. But that's it. Light week on the movie watching. Victoria always jokes that when she's away for the night, that's when I watch like Justice League or Pacific Rim or something I won't watch when she's around. So she's not around tonight, so I might watch something fun, you know.
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, maybe. Victoria watched Titanic.
The monsters
Victoria watched too. She gave it 5 stars. One of her favorite films.
Sashi watched it. Hell yeah, Titanic bangs.
Yeah, she's a big Titanic fan. In her 4 favorites.
I need to rewatch
it. She still has Get Out as Jordan Peele's best, but she very much liked Nope. I think she gave Nope a 4-star. 4-star? Yeah, 4 stars. So
I know loves Get Out. She hasn't seen Nope. I need to convince her to watch it with me actually because she loves Get Out. So I think. Yeah, I'd be intrigued to see where she lands. Definitely.
Yeah. So. Oh, Victoria just said, "Tell Tyler I'm waiting for my Trivia 10 invite."
Love it.
which she has said about 10 times over the last 3 weeks.
Okay, I bet I'll get her on.
So have fun putting together questions from 13 going on 30 and clueless.
Hey. I've had Soups on the Trivia 10 who has like 4 movies logged, and I had to put a quiz together based on
that's
crazy. I watched it yesterday, man.
That 4.6 Civil War guess had me geeking in the office yesterday, dude. I was crying. Josiah's immediate face. Josiah immediately went
that
like,
little,
"Oh wow,
little mannerism he pulls."
Yeah, Josiah's like, "All right, I won this." Like that was so fucking funny.
Soups Run was great though. That box office is so legendary. Just no thoughts. He would just say higher or lower and just walk off the camera.
I can't like his scream. I know it's annoying for some. It kind of made me laugh again. Like it just gets
so funny.
That bit at the end really made me laugh. That guy's the moron in the best way.
That dude knows how to get the people going. How to get.
He gets it. Yeah, Super knows. He
gets it. He gets it. Yeah, for me this week, I watched Killing a Sacred Deer for the first time. Just that movie was just a crazy movie, like not in terms of like obviously the story is whatever, but it's not basically I'm trying to say there's way crazier movies, but there's like certain moments, especially like the end, that are like just like burned in my brain. I'm just like a scene that I'm just like, holy shit, that's just like so morbid.
Good film.
Because initially we were going to do a Yorgos breakdown this week because I thought Kinds of Kindness was coming out this week, but then we found out it was a New York and LA exclusive. So we're doing it next week. So then I was like, okay, we'll pause the Yorgos watches, and because there's only a couple more I have to see, but I'll prioritize that for this week coming up because then we transition to Tom Hardy week. But I also watched Rice Boy Sleeps, Canadian film, coming of age, Korean mom and son immigrating over to Canada and starting a new life. And the mom is just trying to do what she can to provide for her son. I'm told in a similar-ish way to Moonlight in terms of like there's only 2 instead of 3 phases of life where it recasts the kid. Initially, he's like kindergarten age, and then he's like a 16, 17-year-old. But just a very emotional film about the immigrant story, kind of letting go of your culture and your past and kind of what that does to you and your family, and then trying to reconnect with it after all these years when, you know, it feels like you're losing the core sense of who you are. But really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Then the Tom Hardy binge started. Watched Lawless, which I put as the first watch, but I actually think I've just seen it before, so I think it was like a rewatch. Blackhawk Down, that's definitely a rewatch. Watched Bronson for the first time. I really, really like Nicholas Winding Refn as a director, but we'll get into these movies more. Then Capone, first watch. Then I watched Bad Boys 2 because, you know, better late than never to get all the Bad Boys watched, you know, to prep for Bad Boys 5, I guess. I'm ahead of the curve, but Bad Boys 2 is so fun, man. I had such a blast with it, like, which was such a surprise to me because I really did not care for Bad Boys 1 in the slightest.
That is weird. You like, I know, I think it's better, but like the big difference between the two is surprising to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like their chemistry worked better. Like they kind of knew how to work.
Yeah, it does.
Because like I don't know, I felt like in Bad Boys 1, I like Martin Lawrence a lot, and I didn't care for Will Smith's character. In Bad Boys 2, I feel like they both shined, and I feel like the action filmmaking on Michael Bay's side was way better in the second one, and the story in general, like, and just like the directing. Like obviously, Bad Boys 1 was like his debut. I know he did a bunch of music videos and stuff before that, but I just feel like he honed in a lot for Bad Boys 2. So the only one I've left is Bad Boys 3 now. Most people have it as like the lowest, so we'll see where I land on it.
How about that opening scene to Bad Boys 2 though?
Yeah, banger, incredible, crazy, and just I just love the Miami aesthetic too. It's just such a perfect backdrop as well. But yeah, love Bad Boys 2. Then obviously watch the Bikeriders, and then Nope, which will be reviewing Friday. And then last night I rewatched Old, so I gave it a 3-star on first watch, which was like one of the first movies I logged on Letterboxd. I have it logged from December 2022 or 2021, but I think that was like when I first started Letterboxd. So I actually saw it in like whenever it was in theaters, which was like summer 2021. So I think like the date's wrong when I first watched it, because it was Riley and I when we lived in Dallas. We were like a couple months into our relationship, or maybe a couple months. We would go to like a drive-in movie theater every weekend, and we saw this at a drive-in. So like the only time I ever seen this movie is at a drive-in movie theater where we were like in the trunk of an SUV, listening through car speakers, like in a parking lot with dozens of other cars. Which, in terms of like watching a creepy movie like this and aesthetic, incredibly awesome. Like it elevates it so much in terms of being like creepy. Like there's a lot of like just terrifying moments in this movie, like especially with the cave. So it made that a lot better. But obviously, like in terms of like the technical craft and being able to like see the cinematography at its best and visually appreciate it, obviously is like it's a terrible way to watch a movie, but it's a very fun way to watch like horror movies. Because we also saw Candyman at that drive-in, and that's just like the perfect kind of movie to watch at like a drive-in, where it's like dark, you're in the middle of the desert, middle of nowhere. I mean, just picture it like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where Cliff Booth lives. Like you're just kind of just like in the middle of the dirt, and just it's creepy, man. But rewatched for the first time, really liked it a lot more. Visually just incredible. Like the technical craft on it, I was just blown away with stuff that I just wasn't able to appreciate. One, because I was watching a drive-in, but two, it was like 3 years ago when I've grown so much in the last 3 years in terms of like what I look for in a movie. I remember being really like displeased with the twist at the end. It's still not my favorite like Shyamalan twist or reveal at the end, but I definitely I remember like really pissed me off when I watched it in theaters. But I remember I was like, I actually like this a lot more on rewatch in terms of like the overall rug pull of what's all going on behind the scenes. But just a very sincere movie, very earnest movie about our relationship with time and aging. Very unique premise. I know it's based on a graphic novel, I believe, but I didn't dive deep into the like how much, because I know it's like I saw an interview saying like it was a graphic novel that he was inspired by, that he adapted, that like helped him cope with his own parents passing and dealing with their deaths. But I didn't look up into like, is the graphic novel a beach that makes people old and age? Like, is this all like, or how like, or is it just like a little nugget of an idea? But I had a good time with it. And then I jumped into The Village because I hadn't seen that one before, and I figured like we're still a little ways away from Trap, but I'm like, might as well get them all ticked off. But I got like 10 minutes in, and I was like, because I'd already watched Nope and then Old right after it, and it was already like a little late, but I was like, I could do one more. And M. Night movies aren't usually the longest, but I got like 10 minutes, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait until I'm like more awake, because I'm like just super tired. We have to obviously be up this morning to record the podcast, but The Village is on the docket. And then I want to rewatch Knock at the Cabin, because I know you enjoyed it a lot more, or not a lot more. I know you liked it initially on first watch, but I know you liked it more on second watch. But yeah, I think for me, I was just like, that's just like a 3 or 3.5. It's the middle of the road on it, but I'll try and get through I'll definitely get through all of Shyamalan's at least once before Trap comes out. We already did a Shyamalan exclusive episode, but a little less than a year ago now, with obviously the Looks Like a Movie podcast. So we won't do like another deep dive as intensive, because that was like 3 hours of just talking his films. But we'll probably like do like an updated ranking at least when Trap comes out. So I want to at least be prepped for that. But we're like a month. We're only like 5 weeks away from Trap. Actually, this summer's kind of going. We passed the summer solstice, so now every single day is going to get darker a little earlier.
What?
I was looking away and like genuinely like make me like that.
I just scream Trap.
I'm gonna watch this back when it comes out on Monday. You'll see. Like, what the fuck?
Jumping
days down.
But yeah, that's my week. I've also been watching the Euros a lot. Pretty much every match. There's one on right now, but some of the games they have on Fubo TV, and I just don't have that. So Georgia and Czechia. Sorry, exactly. I don't know. All the other games are on like network television, but that like it's on this random network. So I'm not watching Georgia and Czechia. Czechia. But Turkey and Portugal later. That should be a good game. Watch Ronaldo, and then Belgium and Romania.
Georgian who? I'm so confused.
Czechia.
Oh, Czech Republic.
Yeah. And yeah, true. Because I think because I know Turkey now goes by Turkey, and I don't know if Czech Republic, I guess, is now Czechia. So I don't know. I'm not up to. I'm just a stupid American, not up to date on the new.
No, you might be right to be fair in terms of pronunciation, in terms of like language based, because it's just different in terms of different languages, isn't it? But I don't know. You might be right.
But yeah, that's what I've been watching this week. I'm gonna start watching The Bear probably today or tomorrow, maybe, because I need to get ready for season 3 next week. I've already seen I've seen is there like 8 episodes per season? I think I've seen 6 of the first season, but I'm gonna start from episode 1, season 1, because they're only they're 30-minute episodes, right? Like they're not that long, maybe 40. I don't know. I thought they were shorter episodes when I was watching through them. I thought I was getting through them pretty quick, but yeah, I'll start watching The Bear. But yeah, with that, we will get into our review of The Bikeriders from director Jeff Nichols. This movie was initially supposed to come out not quite a year ago, maybe like 9 months ago. It was like supposed to be end of 2023 and then got delayed for don't really know what reason. I don't know if there's
they didn't get buyers. They didn't get buyers for the film.
Gotcha.
So it was like originally it premiered it was a
film festival.
It did London Film Festival. George, did it do New York as well? I think it did, didn't it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. So
it did an American Film Festival, but I don't know which one.
Okay, so it did. Okay, so it did London and then another one, and then it was looking for a buyer. I can't remember who it was at first who kind of fell out the deal. It might have been Sony because this is Focus, isn't it? Now I think Focus Features. Is it?
That sounds right. But
yeah, and then I guess. I do not want The Bikeriders spoiled because I am going to watch it. So just shoot me a text when you guys are done. I'm just going to meet.
Yeah. So
but it was looking for a buyer.
It looks like Disney did buy it and then they dropped it. So
Disney, that was it. They dropped it.
Yeah.
And then they had to find a buyer for it. Yeah, that was it.
So basically, kind of similar thing, like with to a T, pretty much of what happened with Hitman, where like they had film festivals, it was coming out, everything was peachy, and then kind of buyers fell through, and it all worked out. But The Bikeriders, it's out now. Cast is pretty strong. You got Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy, obviously, is like the main poster feature. But beyond that, you have like Michael Shannon, Mike Feist, Boyd Hoybrook, and Norman Reedus. Just a pretty deep cast of supporting characters.
What's his name? Carl Glusman, the guy from Civil War and the Neon Demon, like the Watcher. What was the one with Watcher? That's the one. Yeah,
Watcher,
he's cool.
Yep. But yeah, so legacies don't come easy. After a chance encounter at a local bar, strong-willed Kathy is inextricably drawn to Benny, the newest member of Midwestern motorcycle club, the Vandals, led by the enigmatic Johnny. Much like the country around it, the club begins to evolve, transforming from a gathering place for local outsiders into a dangerous world of violence, forcing Benny to choose between Kathy and his loyalty to the club. Let's go ahead and get into this. We'll start with your overall thoughts on The Bikeriders before getting into spoilers. So just kind of high-level thoughts and your rating, and then we'll kind of jump into a little deeper.
Yeah, so this is my I believe second Jeff Nichols film I've seen. Funny enough, I actually love his other film, Take Shelter. I don't know if you've seen it. It was the one with Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain, 2011, 2012. I have
seen Mud though, which is only I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah. So I haven't seen Mud, but I've seen Take Shelter and this one. And yeah, I think. Listen, it's how do I go into it? This is clearly a film that is coming at you from a certain angle, and I think a lot of people have alluded to the fact of its similarities towards Goodfellas in a kind of era because of kind of the opening shot and kind of what you expect. I think Jeff Nichols sets out to create this aesthetic, this kind of Midwestern biker look. I think the issue with this film for me primarily is that it never really found the sweet spot. And I don't really think it has anything to offer other than the kind of primary things that are on show. Listen, it's a biker film. Austin Butler's handsome. You kind of get that a lot throughout the film. Same with the trailer as well. I think you mentioned that in your review. But it is, it's about, it's a dismantling of vulnerability, of systematic brotherhoods, and kind of the vulnerability and the fragility that comes from it, and kind of that fake macho bravado, whatever. And it's something we've seen in films before. But I don't think it really offers anything new to the table or brings anything fresh. And actually, further than that, I think my biggest disappointment with The Bikeriders as a film is I actually kind of found it quite tedious to sit through after a while. I think I texted you. I know you texted me this last night. And funny enough, I said this as soon as I left the cinema to Anna. So like a 1 hour 55 film, I think feels like about 3 hours because it's structured quite bizarrely in the fact that there are interesting thought processes, nothing that quite reaches it more than it just being, I think you mentioned this in your review, like it's full of like caricatures of like greasers, gangsters, whatever. And I think that comes across, almost to the point where it's quite comical at times with some of the characters, particularly Tom Hardy, where purposeful or not, I do think there's an air of ridiculousness in this, but I don't think that was the entire purpose. And I think that, with this, it's structured in a way where I don't know if it kind of works as much as it wants it to. It kind of hits all the genre tropes adequately. So there's this steadily rise of tension, but I never really felt much emotion towards any of the characters. The cast are fine, in my opinion. I think the standout was Jodie Comer. I don't know about the accent. Obviously, I haven't really got anything to relate to, but I think all the accents are kind of really heightened and they are like caricature-esque, which again, could be intentional, but I think it comes across as a little bit tacky in a way. I think they're all great actors, but I don't think any of them are really performing to the highest level in this. I think Jodie Comer's great and probably the standout, but again, she's not really given that much to work with until like kind of the final third, which I'm assuming we'll go over anyway. But I give this 2.5. It's not bad by any means, but am I disappointed? Yes. Probably up there with the most disappointed I've been this year. Not because I was expecting that much, but it was one of those where it was like, I think this would be like a classic 3.5 film where I just, like it. And I've seen a lot of tweets saying the same thing. But it's whatever. I know I'm definitely on the lower side. Like if I look at my friends' average, it's like a 3.6 right now or 3.7. So I'm definitely on the lower side, but I didn't really get too much from it, or at least as much as I was expecting to anyway.
Yeah, The Bikeriders is kind of like an all-time movie that's like, it was 2.5 for you, it's a 3 for me. An all-time like definition of mid movie that like the only way I ever want to talk about it is like negatively, because like it's a very inoffensive movie in terms of like I know I've heard some people say that they like hated it, which kind of surprised me because I feel like you can't really watch this and like hate the movie. But that's kind of why I talk about it so negatively, is because it's like it just takes so little swings, and that's what's like so frustrating about it, is it is so generic. Yeah,
I value that. Sorry to cut you off. I think I value that more now, and I think the same as you as well. I think compared to what I was like 2 years ago, and again, this is just coming from a place of our styles change. I always appreciate a swing, whether it entirely works for me or not, and I don't think this takes any, to be honest.
Agreed.
At all.
And I think it's extra frustrating because of the cast too. When we mentioned all those actors, like you have the top 3 build, but beyond that, this cast is incredible. Like you have Michael Shannon, who is maybe like the most caricature of all caricatures, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about some specific moments when we get into spoilers. But the thing is, like, and funny enough, like I was mentioning, like I watched Old this week. I think like the one critique I still have about Old a bit is some of the characters I feel like are those caricatures, like a vanity of mental health. I feel like it's very just like kind of like thinly portrayed for some of them with like schizophrenia, and I feel like that's like one of those slight knocks I have on it, which is some of the same thing I can say about this, where like these characters have like basically no nuance. Like I think this movie it achieves what it's trying to do with in terms of like showing the fragility of masculinity and how it's a fake facade. And you have this biker gang, and these are all kind of just like honestly just kind of like losers at the end of the day that are just like portraying violence and killing each other and beating each other up over what at the end of the day, like literally nothing. So it's like it portrays that well, these people that like you think are the toughest, coolest guys around, but really are just fragile, worried about their egos, get corrupted by their own mentality of what they're trying to do with this biker gang. So like it achieves that, but I just think it's in a way where it's so like pretty much every mafia movie we've ever seen kind of I feel like tackles it better. We've seen it so many times where it's just trying to break down the idea of like hyper masculinity, but I just don't think it's done in a way that's anything new here. It was just kind of like I like Joker. I know a lot of people talk about it, but like, a lot of people say like a common thing you see people say about Joker is like, it's like, oh, it's baby's first mental health movie. This is like baby's first masculinity is like a facade and men are fragile and these gangs are fragile, like type of movie where I feel like it's just like the very surface level, very caricature heightened to a level that's just a little ridiculous. And the accents, like they don't bother me a whole ton, but I like a weird accent, but I feel like everyone in this movie had weird accents. And I saw someone say like Jodie Comer's accent is like actually pretty similar to like exactly what the person's accent was. So like cool, bravo to her. But to me, like the accents were just kind of crazy. It's just a weird movie. Like it takes place in Chicago. It's a Chicago biker gang that then spreads out to the Midwest and kind of spreads out to the whole like country. But it's filmed in Cincinnati, which again, like I mentioned this in my TikTok review, it doesn't bother me a ton. Like we see it millions of times where movies take place in one spot, but are filmed in a different
Yeah.
area. But it's like, I feel like Chicago is so integral to this story, and we were supposed to believe that these bikers were like overrunning the city, where bars and restaurants were shutting them down. The police force and firefighter forces were like backing down to them, like, hey, we don't want to mess with you. But because like, I feel like because they filmed in Cincinnati, they never like showed much of the cityscape, because you'd realize it's not Chicago. So I feel like we didn't get like any like establishing shots or broader looks at like I never felt they actually controlled the city the way that like, you know, when the fire department shows up and they're like, oh, we're not messing with you. I was like, I don't know. I didn't get that. Like, you know, I didn't really understand.
Yeah, I think that scene particularly was so like out of nowhere. It was like we were almost meant to know they were this, you know, they were operating on such a level where even, you know, the institution was scared of them. And I think that level was that scene was like kind of ridiculous in a way, because it was just very great. Like, how would we have known any of this with the scope you've given? I think that like comes down to it. But it's like, you know, we've seen films do it before where they've, you know, I'll go back to the recent Scream film, for example, that was, where was that filmed again? But obviously it was set in New York City.
Toronto, maybe.
Yeah, it was Toronto. And there are definitely ways you can do it. And yeah, you never really got a sense of the overall scope of the area in which they controlled. You really just felt like, honestly, it just felt like friends up until like a certain point, just like friends who hang out at a bar, like for a certain point, like just a group, rather than kind of this operating gang in a way that they were presented. Obviously later on in the film as well. But yeah, I agree.
Right. And yeah, I see a lot of people praising the aesthetic of this movie, which I think like the jackets are awesome, and like when they're driving through the countryside, cool. But I think the aesthetic was not great for me, just simply because I never got that sense of their presence over the city and how dominant they were over this area and how it was expanding. I never got like a sense of how it was just like covering the country. And yeah, like the accents, like I said, like they don't bother me, but it's definitely not something like I was like enjoying. Like I was like, it's just kind of annoying after a while, honestly. Like Tom Hardy's was really crazy and funny, but I think that's more because I've just seen Tom Hardy do like 20 crazy accents at this point that you expect it, where like the rest of them, like, I don't know. I just never really bought that any of these people are like Chicagoans. Like it's kind of like an equivalent of like if a bunch of like if actors that are, because like Jodie Comer and Tom Hardy, obviously like not American, they're supposed to be like these Midwesterners. So it's like kind of like if like some people from New York City and California were portraying people that are British about a London gang, but it's filmed in like Newcastle. Like it's just the whole setting and aesthetic of all these actors and who's playing these people in this area just wasn't enough to ever get me to buy in. Mike Weiss is crazy in this. He's in it for like 5 minutes as just a dude interviewing, but every time he's on screen, he's like eye fucking whoever's looking at. He's like smirking and like smoldering. I was like, man, he's like, I'm getting 5 minutes of screen time, but I'm gonna eat it all up. I'm gonna serve face the entire time. But I read something somewhere that like this was right after he filmed Challengers, and apparently Jeff Nichols was saying like he was so burnt out from Challengers that he like did not have much in him for the Bikeriders, which for his role he didn't really need to anyways. He did fine for what it was, but once you see the movie, you'll realize like his role doesn't really require much range at all. Because this movie is based on a book of this guy who interviews this biker gang over the years to understand these people and who they are and how the gang grows and what they're up to. And Mike Weiss is basically just playing that guy who's interviewing the bikers and the gang and Jodie Comer throughout the years. But yeah, it was just a frustrating watch. Like it's one where I was ready for it to end the entire time. By the time we get to like the final climax, the emotion just doesn't hit for me because I never got attached to any of these characters. Just everyone's just such a caricature of what they're trying to portray. But yeah, I mean, again, like I'm talking so negatively on it. I still gave it a 3-star. Initially gave it a 2.5 star, but there are some like moments and nuggets that I think are really great. So maybe bump it up to a 3, but just as a cohesive piece of work, I think it was a bit of a mess. But
yeah, I think like as well, like it's not even that the ads were so over the top in terms of accents, like very caricature-esque in terms of like gangster full movie tropes, which it was full of, but also you've got Austin Butler's character who's meant to be kind of this, the main allegory, the main depiction of what the film's trying to portray. He was so one note in terms of his character. Like, what do we really get that we haven't already seen, or that anything, not necessarily that brings new to the table? I think that's kind of harsh criticism, because I think, then you expect in every film to, but deliver it in a way with some sort of nuance and subtlety where it's not like it's presented, like very thrown in your face, very, I don't know. It didn't really work. And I think Austin Butler's character particularly requires that, especially for that kind of climax to work when you have the scene, again, spoilers, Tyler, you might want to throw the thing. So you've got the scene with like for example, Jodie Comer and Austin Butler at the end, and after all this kind of okay, so there's a particular scene. Just go back with this particular scene where they've basically taken on a whole lot of new people into the group, people they don't really know. And there's a scene, kind of a house when they're having a party or whatever, where some men basically try and grab Jodie Comer and kind of essentially use her as objects. And Austin Butler wasn't there. Austin Butler was doing things for the gang, which is kind of an ongoing theme in this film. He's doing things for the gang, not really looking for her. And it's kind of that, where do you value family versus brotherhood? And then there's, the kind of one of the climaxing scenes, probably half an hour before it finishes, is that Jodie Comer is basically having this big emotional moment, says that she can't do it anymore. And Austin Butler doesn't really get that. And then it ends with Austin Butler again going out to help the gang out with someone. I think that's where he helps. Again, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Helps Tom Hardy out with, what's his name? Cockroach. Obviously, he's just left the gang or whatever. And it's like, when you have these moments, they don't really fulfill anything, don't really hit a sweet spot for me, because I don't feel anything towards either character in a way that I think we're supposed to, because they're such one-note characters. And I don't think that really comes across very well, if that makes sense.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because that scene where like Jodie Comer is obviously about to get like violently sexually assaulted and Austin Butler's not there to protect her. It was a frustrating scene for me because, again, like you said, Austin Butler's character is so one note, and then it leads to that altercation in the bedroom where she's saying like, I can't do this anymore. Whereas because all these characters are so one note, I felt zero empathy towards them. Because like when it shows Jodie Comer meeting him in a bar for the very first time, the first thing she hears about him is that this dude crashes his motorcycle every time he's on it, and like basically tries to die. Like he almost dies over and over because he's so reckless, and then like goes with him. And then there's not a single moment in their whole relationship where it like shows them together and like building a family and like enjoying each other. It's always like every single scene, I feel like it's like him just ditching her and not caring about her and leaving her and doing stuff for the game.
Yeah.
So like there's never anything there that made me think like, yeah, of course. Like basically when he like left her and she was at the party alone, I was like, well, of course. Like what else? This movie led me to believe that he doesn't give a crap about her. Like he's always gonna choose gang over her.
Which in a way is like, it's almost not complimenting Jeff Nichols, but it's saying, yeah, I mean, I guess it worked because you got us to feel that way about Austin Butler's character in a way that he values that over, and I think that was obvious. But also, you need to allow it time to, for us to think, why would he not at that point? Because you're not going to get that emotional reaction. And I think that it just comes down to Austin Butler's character. That's kind of all we know. We don't really, you don't get many scenes. I saw a few people saying that this film could have been done better in a way, in a view from Tom Hardy's character, Johnny, rather than just in a way, because you don't really get many scenes with Austin Butler and Jodie Comer's characters, which I think would have helped in the grand scheme of things. But it's where you fit them in. I just think this is a weird story to tackle, and I would be hesitant to say, I wish it would have been longer, because I don't, to be honest. I actually think this, I was quite bored at times in the back half, but it almost kind of needed to be in a way to have that kind of that climax be as as emotionally potent as it needed to be to end the film out, especially with the final scene, or the final scene where kind of Austin Butler goes away for like, I think it's like a year or two or something along those lines.
Just like kind of fucks off to Florida.
Yeah. And then basically what you find out is this kid who tried to get in the gang earlier on kind of challenges Johnny. So they all have an option to challenge him because he's like the leader, and he says like knife or fist, whatever. He challenges him, and then essentially Johnny turns up and the kid just shoots him, and he becomes like kind of the leader, and that's where it boils over into this kind of full-blown operation where it's like a nationwide thing where they're controlling drugs and whatever. And then Austin Butler's character, someone tells him in a bar, this is like the only shot you get, and then he kind of goes home, knocks on the door of Jodie Comer's door, and he's sat outside. And then this is kind of where he breaks down. The vulnerability all kind of boils over. It too much for him. He cries on Jodie Comer's shoulder, which is such an important thematic moment in that it's so true. And I think that the themes are so true, but it's like I didn't really get, usually that sort of scene would have me in floods. I mean, I didn't really get that emotional climax where I needed, because I don't think anything was built up particularly well. And this is a film where, again, it's going to sound like I'm being totally negative, but I'm not. And it's the same as you. It was 2.5 for me. It's not, it's down the middle. But this sort of theme would usually work really well for me because I think it's so vastly important. But I think you have to allow time for people to understand why the characters are making these decisions, and why Austin Butler is holding back, and why Jodie Comer is fighting back, and why she's not. And yada yada yada. So I don't think that big ending worked as well as it should have done for me anyway.
Yeah, it was just frustrating because there's moments like you mentioned, if it was through Tom Hardy's perspective, like I really thought the scene was interesting when right before he dies, he goes off and like, you know, his wife is so disconnected, just like doesn't care. Like, you know,
that was
just
cool
watching
scene.
TV, doesn't care where he's leaving. Cause it's like, basically, you know, it's kind of revealing there that like he does this so often that it's like, whatever, you're just going out. Yeah. Bring eggs when you come home from murdering someone. And like the kids are gone. Like that scene, like almost frustrated me too, because I was like, this is a great scene. I was like, I wish we got more of this emotional layer. Cause if you're going to make a movie about that's trying to deconstruct masculinity, we needed more elements like that showed like the flip side. We needed more elements of Austin Butler and Jodie Comer being vulnerable together. We need more moments of Tom Hardy and his family, and not just being like this, basically what you see for 99% of the film, where it just looks like all he does is just sit in a bar at a table and wait for people to come to him with his problems. Also, I think like, obviously like so much of this movie is just so hyper exaggerated that it's just kind of, by the time it happened, I was like, whatever, this is par for the course. But when the kid first tries to join the gang and he's like was going to ditch his friends, and Tom Hardy's like, nope, sorry, you can't join. Like, who would just ditch their friends? And then the dude like slashes Tom Hardy with a knife, and then like Tom Hardy just like punches him once, and then the rest of the gang,
like, he slashes like
scram kid. I'm like, dude, if you're telling me if the leader of your gang slashed with a knife, that kid's not leaving there alive. Like how, like they basically just look at him like, yeah, stupid kid. Go, I mean, dude, you just sliced him with a knife. Like he could have killed him. Like, crazy. Just, like, they just walk back in the bar so nonchalant. And I get like, they're trying to make it seem like, oh, he's so tough and badass. I'm like, dude, if a real gang member, it's like if you shot a gang member in a foot, you're telling me the rest of the gang would be like, idiot kid. Like, no, you're dead on sight.
I think it's like, sometimes I think the kind of almost absurdity works in the favor of the film. So I really like the opening. So Austin Butler's kind of, you see the shot with him, he's sitting over wearing the biker jacket, and then two guys come over to him and say, you're not allowed to wear clothes in here, and Austin Butler's like, you know, I'd rather be dead or whatever. They just hit him over the bag with the stool. He gets like bad, so Austin Butler like stands up, slashes one of them in the face, and then gets hit with the stool in the back of the head. And I almost like that kind of hyper violentness nature. Like there's another scene where I did find this quite funny, and this is very much meant to be comical scene. I think you know which one I'm talking about. The kind of group fight in the park or whatever, when kind of sat down, and then the other guy thinks that one member of a group thinks that one of the guys in Tom Hardy's group is like damaged his motorbike or something. And then again, because that's the hyper, Benny being kind of that out of control character, he just runs over and punches me, even though they're kind of being quite civilized. And they just have this kind of over ridiculous like group fight, and then after that it kind of quickly cuts to them just sitting around talking about bikes. I think that's like really cool. I think if they'd have kind of geared towards that kind of ridiculousness throughout the whole film, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, because I think that they work in those moments, and I think it really shows the just hyper ridiculous nature and hyper violent nature. So they're like, you know, I think it's just important to mention that there are scenes I definitely liked, like that one. So I think that and the opening were really cool, because it just, you know, works for the film. Do you know what I mean?
I also love the scene when the first guy challenges Johnny to a fist fight, and then at the end of it, like Johnny like fights dirty and wins the fight, and then after he like gives him what he wants, like, but he's like, they're like, why'd you just give him what he wanted? Why'd you fight? He's like, well, it had to be my idea. I can't just be that guy's idea.
My idea. Yeah, that was cool. And Tom Hardy's a funny one in this film, because he's like, I don't know whether he was, you know, great or not, really. It's just I'm so used to Tom Hardy doing these weird. He is like peak caricature in this, just absolutely ridiculous, like kind of Midwestern, really weird voice, very hard to pinpoint, and he's just so silly as well. Like it's some of his lines are just so like that one. It's just so silly. I'm like, do I think that Nichols actually portraying him really well, or do I think this is maybe not as deliberate as I'm hoping it is? Do you know what I mean? I can't really quite tell which way he's facing, but he was a weird. It's just, I mean, Tom Hardy just goes very Tom Hardy. It's just a weird role, isn't it? General. Same with like Michael Shannon, who I actually really like in this. To be fair, Michael Shannon has like a really. I assumed he would be a bigger part than he is. Like Michael Shannon's not really in it that much at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought the campfire scene of Michael Shannon talking about the Vietnam War and how he wasn't able to join up was so powerful and so impactful that it just made me frustrated that the rest of the 95% of what we see from him is just a stereotypical drunkard, can't do shit, like loser.
Being that guy. Yeah.
Which like before that happens, like it makes that campfire scene so much more impactful, because like, oh, there's so much more nuance and layer to this guy, but also like, I don't know, it just frustrated me, because there's all these nuggets that I really liked, and I really like the campfire scene, and you know, the guy from California coming up who was Norman Reedus, and how they used to be accepting to outsiders, and then I didn't care about his character. No, I didn't care either, but
Didn't care
That's
what
why
it
it's like
was.
frustrating. Like there's parts that are great, parts that I'm like, what's the point? And I get like at the end when they show like the pictures of the real life, like there was really this California biker that came. So I don't know if they just threw Norman Reedus in to be like, oh, this happened in the real life. There's this California dude that started hanging out with them. But I'm like, he didn't add anything to the story. And the whole time, like it gave me this false idea that like some conflict was about to come up and then nothing really happened. Like I just didn't understand his purpose.
It's also
But-
like kind of weird as well at the
Yeah.
end, like where they kind of they go over kind of what's happened in the people's lives. Like one of them died because he like paralyzed, broke his neck, whatever. I don't really like. It doesn't really buy. I have to buy into these characters, and I don't guess like that guy. Like, okay, for example, I know again they're not the feature of the story, but to tell that story, you kind of have to involve them. Okay, so you've got Carl Glusman's character, Paul Sparks, and Amori Cohen. I don't care about these people enough, you know, and I really, really didn't. And I think again, that's not part and parcel of the story, but I don't know, who cares, man. It was kind of weird to me that they were just kind of giving this backlog. It was quite funny how, you know, the cockroach guy, how they kind of portrayed him when, you know, he's like a traffic cop now at the end. They're just picturing him like a mustache and stuff. That was quite funny. But yeah, I don't think it had the impact it was meant to. But again, I think we're probably maybe lower on it than most people, I would say, or at least that I'm friends with anyway that I've seen, you know.
Yeah, I think it's the type of movie dads will like because it's very much, you know, bikers and cool guys and it's like the very end of the movie when Austin Butler's like crying in the shed, or not crying in the shed, when he's in the shed and like Jodie Comer's kind of voiceovering saying like, you know, now he's like he's happy being here. There's like these some older dudes in my theater started like laughing because like I feel like, I mean, which makes sense. Like it's supposed to be like a little like not comedic's not the right word, but it's supposed to be like opposite of what you see because like you can tell he probably like isn't that happy, but he like is. But like I couldn't really tell. Like that's the thing, I couldn't tell with his character. Like is he happy now he's away from the gang? Like because they made it seem like once
it does that weird face,
died,
like a weird like music scene in the background where it's just zooming in on Austin Butler's face and you can't really tell. Also, would he be able to leave that easily? You know, I wondered this. Like
that's what I thought about the cop too, because I was like, I don't know, like I feel like if you're in a gang and now you're a cop, don't you think that the new guy of the gang would try to like take him out too? Because
yeah,
like,
I don't because they make it obvious that like when Cockroach leaves, for example, and there's kind of ongoing things about people leaving, you know, what happens to him. It's like, could he just leave? You know, especially now it's like a big, more of like a nationwide operation as such, because obviously when Johnny left, that guy came in top. Like, could he just move, like, and leave? And could that guy just become a traffic cop and people know who he is? Like, do you know what I mean? Again, this might be a true story, who knows? But yeah, it just kind of surprised me. It just goes against what I thought would happen in this instance anyway. What the fuck do I know anyway about gangs and stuff, though, to be fair? So
yeah,
that might be the case anyway. If anyone's in a bike gang,
let us know how accurate this is. But yeah, the last like 10 seconds of the movie is like is Austin Butler like in a shed working on, like he's a mechanic now with like his cousin or something, and Jodie Comer's basically saying like, oh, he's happy now. We got our family here down in Florida, and we're removing the gangs. And then it kind of zooms in on his face, and you hear like a motorcycle in distance, and he kind of looks up, like you see that fire re-engaged in him, and I just don't think that worked for me either.
No, I didn't.
It just, again, the same. Like, it's kind of a perfect way for this movie to end because it's like a perfect reminder that this film never really knew quite exactly where to put the pin in where to like nail in the themes is going for. Because I don't know, it made it seem like once Johnny died that like Benny was like fully on the straight and narrow, broke down. Like it seemed like he just completely was washed of it. But then like it's like, is it trying to say that once a gangster, always a gangster? Like what's like, I don't know, because you'd like to think that someone who was in a biker gang could still ride motorcycles and enjoy it, and you'd assume he still rides motor. Like, well, no, she said he's never rode a motorcycle since. I don't know. It's weird. It's almost like an addiction type thing where it's like you can't touch it or else you're gonna fall back into that world. But,
yeah, it's a weird one.
I don't know. Just didn't understand the character.
No, I didn't really like it.
Yeah, it was a 2.5 star for me, and then like immediately bumped it up to a 3 star. But again, it's just like right in the middle of the road average. Like I was more disappointed by it, like I said at the beginning, more just because this cast had me feeling so promising about what it could be. And I really liked Mud, and it sounded like from Jeff Nichols, the other movie you'd seen from him, you really like that too. So
I love Take Shelter. And he takes the swing again. That's why I was disappointed because I went into it again. That was 13 years ago. And I think this is the first film since Mud, isn't it? Which is
he doesn't have many.
2015. This is like 9 years maybe since his last film, which is kind of crazy. And Take Shelter is a film. I mean, I like it more than most people, but it's a film that goes really into mental health in a way that I haven't really seen depicted before in that swing. And I think Michael Shannon is just phenomenal in that. And it takes swings, which is why I was so disappointed with this. And I think, again, that kind of reflects, again, I think a lot of films you go into is similar to what we speak about in Nope, which is going to be coming out in our Patreon review. If you go into it with pre-led expectations of a kind of a director or a project you expected based off a last project from said filmmaker, you can kind of go into it with a different view. And I think that kind of reflects in my opinions on this as well, which is normal. We all kind of do it, don't we? That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, so 3-star for me, 2.5 star for you, and I think George is still planning on seeing it, so we'll see where he lands. But just texted him that we are back, so we can now get into the Tom Hardy portion now that we're done with the Bikeriders and talk Tom Hardy's filmography. So I figured we would go through kind of like his big movies and just kind of touch on them quickly. Obviously, not going through every one, and then at the end of going through his big movies, we can kind of do a catch-all of any smaller ones we've seen that we want to mention. Then we'll do like a ranking. And so I know you can't be here for too much longer, but if we'll get your ranking regardless of when you have to drop and go through. I don't think I have Cam's, but I don't even know if Cam's seen 10 Tom Hardy movies, to be honest. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So his very first movie he was ever in is a big one. It's Blackhawk Down, very popular movie, war movie. He plays Twombly, I believe his name is. Twombly. Kind of a like. So Blackhawk Down is like one of those movies that I rewatched, and the cast is crazy. Like the cast is so beyond stacked that Tom Hardy is just such a minor supporting role. Josh Hart is like the main guy, but you have Ewan McGregor, Tom Sizemore, Eric Bana, Orlando Bloom's in it for like 30 seconds. The cast order in IMDb sucks, so maybe I should be looking at somewhere else. But there's like so many characters that every time they popped up, I'm like, holy shit, they're in this too. Just incredibly stacked cast, and Tom Hardy's in it for one, but I don't really think it gives much. Have you both seen Black Hawk Down? I feel like it's fair. It's Ridley Scott, which I texted you in the group chat. Like I totally forgot that was a Ridley Scott movie until the very end of the movie. At the very end credits, like, oh, Ridley Scott film. I was like, oh shit, I did not remember that. But
yeah, so I've seen Black Hawk Down once. It's been about 2 years. I think Black Hawk Down suffers in the fact that I think it's a very one note, similar to what we're saying about Bikeriders as a war film. I think it creates like this spectacle, but politically it doesn't really align. I think it's very misconstrued. I remember enjoying it, but I just think it's very my thoughts are similar to like an All Quiet on the Western Front from a couple of years ago, whenever that was. I think it's cool. Like I definitely liked it, but I don't think it's near Ridley Scott's strongest. I actually, for some reason, don't actually remember Tom Hardy being in it. Weirdly enough,
very he's small role.
Like, that has like Black Hawk Down is one of the classic films where it's like one of the most stacked casts ever, but it was like before a lot of them were big as well. Mm-hmm. Like it's got so many names that I just completely forgot. I remember watching it the first time, and it was classic. Like I think you did a video on this title, like actors who just come on screen. You're like, hey, it's that guy and stuff like that. And it has so many of them. Yeah, I don't think it's Scott's strongest work. Actually, 3.5 seems a bit too positive now I look at it, but I think it's around like a 3-star for me. I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it. I gave it a 3-star on rewatch. I've seen it probably twice, maybe before, but it holds up though in terms of a 2001 movie. Like the visuals and the visual effects and everything about it and the aesthetic. Like I was like, this could have been made a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't have not believed you. Other than obviously
when they first dropped down into the city, into the town, it's kind of crazy. Like it's a spectacle. Like it really works in that. Some of the sound design is like insane as well. I think that's come to be expected with Ridley Scott as a director. I just don't think narratively it's as strong as many other war films of that era. Definitely. Yeah,
it's just really one note, like you're mentioning. George, have you seen Black Hawk Down?
Yeah, I have. I used to love this movie, but I think you guys are hitting the nail on the coffin. Like just, I don't know, as you dive deeper into like films and genres, you kind of realize that there are significantly better war films out there. Maybe not on a spectacle front, because I think this film excels in kind of its like depiction of war and just how like nonstop, gruesome, gory, war-y it is. But in its messaging, like Seth said, there's not much this movie is saying. It comes off a bit shallow, and you struggle with such a massive fucking cluster of characters and A-list actors and actresses in like caring for each of them because there's just too much going on. But as a spectacle, I think this is fantastic. I don't have it rated currently on Letterboxd. I think I'm due for a rewatch, and unfortunately, I couldn't get around to this one. prior to us recording this, but I'd imagine it holds up to like a 3.5 or a 4 for me because obviously I'm a big spectacle guy.
Was this his first film then?
Yeah, first film.
That's surprising because this is like what, early 2000s, maybe like 2002,
2001.
That's kind of surprising.
He's in Band of Brothers that same exact year, so I wonder which one came first. And if Band of Brothers saw him, well, I'm guessing both of them were in production before any of them came out, but maybe he was just already on the Hollywood military sets, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come be on Band of Brothers too? Like you look good in a military uniform." But yeah, surprising first film to be in for sure.
Just later than I expected, you know. I don't just think he's older than he is. You know what I mean? Like, you always get. I just figured he'd been in one, but he was like 20, like late teens or whatever. But maybe that's not the case.
How old is he?
I thought he was older actually. So he's born in 77, so he's not actually as old.
So
as
he's 47.
40, yeah, so he's not actually as old as I thought. Yeah, maybe.
So
older than Jordan Peele though.
Yeah, older than Jordan. Jordan Peele.
But then he's in a bunch of smaller films that weren't too highly rated. He was in Star Trek Nemesis from 2002. The only reason I mentioned that is because we did Star Trek First Contact review, which two films, like there's a film after Star Trek First Contact and then Nemesis, and that same sort of like quadrilogy. So he's in that one. Then a couple more smaller ones. Have any of you seen Layer Cake?
Yes, I've seen Layer Cake.
What are your thoughts? That's Matthew Vaughn. That must be like an early Matthew Vaughn, and Daniel Craig is in it, and then he's in a smaller role. But I'm curious your thoughts because that's like the only one of his earlier movies, other than Blackhawk Down, that's like a good rating for movies in terms of like.
There's also one 2007 as well, or if you're not, are you looking at
right? I'm not
okay. Well, yeah. Layer Cake's cool. It's kind of like Guy Ritchie-esque. It's very crime comedy, overly English. It's kind of old school, stylistic, English gangster film. Bleak, ruthless, but also an element of comedy. I think the cast actually remember being really good. It's about a year and a half since I watched it. Daniel Craig's actually great in it. And I think what's her name? The one from let me get up. Oh, Sally Hawkins, who was in Wonka, and I think she's in Paddington. Shape of Water as well. She's in it. She's really cool. It's a good film. It's probably my second favorite Matthew Vaughn, which isn't saying that much to be honest, behind the first Kingsman. But yeah, it's definitely a cool film. Actually, Matthew Vaughn did First Class. I didn't actually realize that. Interesting.
Oh yeah.
He also did Argyle.
I haven't seen Argyle. That might be number one when I watch it. Yeah, Layer Cake's cool. I have it at 3.5. It's a good film. Definitely.
Yeah. Then 2 years later, he works with Sofia Coppola and Marie Antoinette, and I watched that movie for the first time like half a year ago, and I completely forgot he was in it, and I just looked up an image of him, and he's not a top billed character by any means, but again, just a lot of movies early on are just kind of like, oh yeah, he was in this. Didn't remember that because Jason Schwartzman's like the main guy in that movie, but he's also in this as a smaller role. But I like it a lot. I like Marie Antoinette a lot. Like I really like them. I like a lot of pretty much every Sofia Coppola movie I've seen. I've really liked. But in terms of Tom Hardy in that, not much
other than Priscilla. I
really?
need to get on my. No, I need to get on my stick. It's crazy.
You should watch Marie Antoinette.
I know.
It's again. I'll keep saying the word spectacle. It's so massive and so dazzling, and it's like such this massive effort to bring like 18th century Versailles to life, and it's so insane. Not a lot to say about, like not a lot to say about Tom Hardy because he's in the movie for like 6 minutes and he has like 4 lines of dialogue, but the movie itself is very, very fantastic.
Yeah, the only thing I always relate to when I see Marie Antoinette is like someone tweeted like about there was like errors in film and there was a picture of like Converse. And everyone was like, well, yeah, that's the point of the film. And I just found that really funny. I do need to watch it because it's something that I think I really like. There's like a setup and kind of that era as well. So yeah, definitely I need to watch that ASAP. I hear really good things about it.
And then is there anything in between that and Bronson that people want to cover? So there's scenes
when was Bronson?
2008.
So there's one which I haven't seen, but I've been told to watch a lot. Meant to be really good. It's called Stuart: A Life Backwards. It was him and Benedict Cumberbatch, just like a duo.
I saw that.
I've been told. I think my mom actually likes this film. I can't remember who it is now. But the people in Discord have spoken about it. It was like I think it was a TV film, and that's meant to be really, really good. I'm quite sad as well, so I really need to watch that. Apparently, he's great in it as well. People say it's one of his best performances. So,
I see it. 2007. Yeah, a TV movie.
It's a TV movie. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. And then so 2008 is Bronson with director Nicholas Winding Refn, who also did
Pusher, Neon Demon, Drive.
Drive was one I was forgetting. And then
what's it called? The Ryan Gosling. Only God Forgives.
God Forgives.
Valhalla Rising with Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, I really like him as a director. Have you both? I know Seth, you've seen Bronson.
I have.
Bronson's a weird movie, man, and I think the direction is about like Britain's like most dangerous prisoner of all time, and Tom Hardy might be like, for me, it might be his best performance in terms of like he has to go full bore wild in this movie, and I think he does it very well. And the direction is super fascinating. Like I was so intrigued by this movie, even though I just like really didn't care about Charlie Bronson or any of like the happenings that he gets up to throughout his like crime career and like the story of his life. Like I just didn't care for much. Like, I wasn't interested by the story, but the direction was so peculiar and his performance is so over the top, bombastic and crazy that I was like, I dug it. I gave it like 3.5. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on Bronson?
Yeah, this is actually my least favorite Refn film. I've seen all of Refn's films. I like him a lot. This is the only one I don't have a positive rating, I believe. 2.5, so I don't hate it by any means. But yeah, I don't really like well, it's been about a year and a half, I think, but I don't like the editing at all. I think it's quite chaotic in nature. I don't like the kind of filter they use as well. It's really weird. I just don't really like how it plays out. I think Tom Hardy's very good, but I also just don't really like him in these kind of roles. He does go kind of all out, but yeah, I just couldn't really get on with this. I think Tom Hardy is good, and it's probably the only reason that I have interest. And I think Charles Bronson as a story is something, I've heard a million times. I actually have interest in that. So that, opposite of you, I actually don't like it stylistically. But again, it's kind of the mention that we were saying earlier, Tyler, when we were talking about the Bikeriders. I have never seen a Nicholas Refn film where he doesn't take a swing, And I think that's the same with this one. I think that's why I really appreciate it. But it's my least favorite one. It's 2.5, but it's not something I fervently dislike by any means.
George, have you seen Bronson?
I've seen it a long time ago,
Gotcha.
but I hadn't rewatched it before this episode. So
weird movie, but I dug it for what it was. And then in 2010, he was in a movie that smaller film. Don't know if either of you have heard of it. Inception. Played
Inception. Yeah,
and obviously we've already mentioned some like bigger films, but when you look up Tom Hardy, it says his breakout performance in terms of like becoming a name people know is Inception.
Hollywood. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, have we done a Christopher Nolan special? I feel like we have.
Yeah, we did for Oppenheimer. We did like loads.
So I feel like we've talked about Inception at length before. But Tom Hardy's cool in it, man. Like
the whole movie is cool, man.
Yeah, the whole movie is cool. I do like Inception a lot. I kind of want to rewatch it. So all I can picture when I picture Tom Hardy Inception is white camo sniper in the snow. Is that him, or am I misremembering him as someone else?
I mean, that's the whole final sequence is everyone wearing white camo.
Right, but he isn't doing that. Yeah,
snipers.
That's just all I can remember of Tom Hardy in that movie is just him wearing that. But I don't remember a single line he delivers, any moment of him in it.
He's one of the many beautiful white men wearing suits in this movie. So
yeah, but he's not. Yeah, I need to rewatch, but Inception, we've talked about it at length, and everyone knows it's a great movie. Have either of you seen Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? That's like the number one I wanted to watch heading into this that I didn't get time for, but I want to know because I've heard just great things about it, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts.
You won't hear any thoughts from me because it's been about 5 years and I can't remember anything, but I've seen it, so I will say I remember it being one of Gary Oldman's best, if memory serves correctly. I think he was amazing in it. But I can't remember it that much at all. But I have seen it. I need to rewatch it. Yeah,
I've heard really, really good things about it. You got Gary Oldman, Colin Firth, Tom Hardy, espionage, Cold War film. Looks interesting. Jordan, I assume you haven't seen it.
I have, yeah, I have. I have such like a weird memory for some reason of this movie, going to see it with my dad in theaters, and the two of us walking out. Yeah, but hated it.
Really?
I haven't rewatched it since, so I'm not gonna like actually touch on it. But it's just such a funny memory of the two of us walking out of theater, being like, "Damn, that was the most boring film we've ever seen in our entire lives."
Wow, fascinating, interesting. Well, yeah,
so I wonder if on rewatch it would hold true.
George, it's actually funny enough. Do you know who the director is
of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
Yeah. The craziest. Now, let me tell you this, right? So he directed The Snowman, with Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender.
And then Let the Right One In, That is crazy. That's like
Which
two.
one? Oh, wow.
No, not let in. I'm talking
Yeah.
great. Let the right one in.
The actual
crazy.
2008 one. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, that's
to watch.
crazy. That's really polar opposites there. Because that bangs. But yeah, it's the Snowman.
You know who was the cinematographer on Let the Right One In?
I do, but remind me because I've seen this before. Who's it?
It's Hoyte van Hoytema.
Oh wow.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh shit, yeah, it is. That's interesting. I mean, it makes sense. That she fucking bangs, but yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Wait,
That's
oh, he is Dutch Swedish actually as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just Dutch. Fair.
that same year that Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy came out, Warrior came out. Seth, I think you're the highest on that, so I'll let you start with it.
Yeah, man, MMA fan, shit bangs. I think Warrior is not in the context of MMA because I do think it's actually portrayed really well, but I also think it's very, very sincere. It follows very much sport film genre tropes as majority of them do, but I think the three main people, so you've got Joel Edgerton, Tom Hardy, and Nick Nolte, I think are all fucking incredible, especially Nick Nolte. I think, did he get an Oscar for this or like a nomination? I don't know, but I think he did. But I think,
I'll look it up.
okay, I think that they're all great. I think it has this climax where not the most believable in any sense as we see with sports film, but I think it has a real sincerity about brotherhood relationships and also having a father figure in your life and kind of the pathways that can take you down. And I also think the MMA moments specifically are actually really fucking cool. And also it has classic character actor. I know that guy Frank Grillo also, who is I like Frank Grillo a lot. Anytime he pops up in like one of these roles, I just like he's the classic like the coach or whatever, like the aggressive coach and stuff, and he's cool. But yeah, I really like Warrior. I think it's fantastic. I think it's definitely the best MMA film, and there's not many, and it's probably one of my favorite sports films ever. Definitely.
You were right. Nick Nolte did get nominated. Frank Grillo, yeah, just such a character actor. He's first movie that I think of when I think of him is like The Purge
Winter
3
Soldier?
or something.
Oh
no, like
The
Purge 4.
2.
Yeah, he was
Like,
the
Anarchy.
he was in
And
the Purge
he's-
Anarchy.
And he's
Anarchy.
sick.
The only good one, can I add? I think the only good one.
Yeah.
That was a cool film.
Correct.
People who really like Warrior and really hate this other film might hate this comparison, but when I'm thinking back to the ending of Warrior, like, is there some Challengers vibes there? Like, obviously, like different
Stop,
thematically, but you
dude.
have them the fight of the Brotherhood, and then at the end,
if you look at it
hugging each
that
other
way,
and coming to it. All the
That's disrespectful. That's
the
disrespectful.
history.
that is disrespectful to Challengers.
disrespectful to
Stop,
Challengers.
stop,
The Challengers is a better
stop.
movie.
Stop. That's so
No,
disrespectful.
I see what you mean, but yeah, I love Warrior. I think it's really good.
You're comparing a loud, corny film to one of the most
To an also
raw-
loud, corny film.
No, to stop. To
I love Warrior, but
an
shit is so
emotional journey, man. It's just Warrior. That's one of the best sports movies out there, dude. Don't be comparing.
Yeah, I agree. Don't worry.
Shittingers.
No,
Come
they're
on
both
now.
good, but Challengers is better.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see it. You know, it's different because it's about a story about family and brotherhood as opposed to like their throuple. But like the way that the sport is a vessel for their past traumas and relationships, I think there's some narrative threads there you could weave. But
I get it.
a year later, Lawless, which I rewatched, I think. Shia LaBeouf is like a terrible dude, but dude, his aura in this movie is kind of crazy. Like the slick back, greasy hair, and like the suits, the Prohibition era, like 3-piece suits. I was like, damn, dude, like kind of crazy. And Jessica Chastain's in this movie, and just like she's just like there, which is just kind of rare to see from Jessica Chastain performances. 2012 is a little before she got like her like crazy Oscar pushes and stuff, but I was like, I was expecting more from her. But the craziest thing I saw about Lawless on my rewatch was Tom Hardy was out accented in this movie. Guy Pearce, his accent was so wild in this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, Tom Hardy, you should be ashamed of this movie, man. You got out accented. You got beat at your own game. Like Guy Pearce's weird ass, wacky accent.
It has a crazy cast. Least surprising news ever. I'm pretty sure this is the film where on set, like Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy nearly had like a physical fight like multiple times. And if you were to put two people on a set who you think probably advised,
Tom Hardy would fuck up Shia LaBeouf.
Probably Tom Hardy, like man, that guy's like everything I hear about him on set is like that guy's such a dick. Like honestly, like,
Yeah.
I mean Shia LaBeouf as well. Don't get me wrong, LaBeouf fucking whatever. But yeah, that's what I heard. And looking at this cast now, really, really great, isn't it? Like there's so many names in this. Like
Gary Oldman like pops by on set for a few days
Two-
for like a
two
random like
Oppenheimer.
sheriff role.
two
Dane
Oppenheimer,
DeHaan.
great.
Yeah, Dane DeHaan.
Jason Clark. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
and
crazy
Gary
cast.
Oldman as well, of course.
But man, this movie really doesn't do anything special. But when I was watching, I was like, man, I want to just watch a billion Prohibition era movies now because I loved like this, like the Moonshiner, Outlaw.
Watch Rango, Tyler. Shit bangs.
Dude,
Watch
we
Rango.
review. It was just me and you on
Yeah, I
that
know.
real quick review. It was only me and
Rewatch
you and
Rango, and you'll get your
I didn't
fix.
like it, man. But yeah, I just love this like gangster aesthetic of the Prohibition era specifically, and yeah, Shia LaBeouf just like is cool in this role. And 7.2 on IMDb is higher than I thought it would be. I thought it was just like a very middle of the road movie, but
It's a very fine film from memory.
yeah, it's very fine.
Yeah.
And then that same year, again, a smaller indie film, The Dark Knight Rises, plays a guy named Bane. So I guess we've obviously talked at length about The Dark Knight Rises. Everyone kind of knows where we stand. But I want to ask, what's like I don't know. I'm trying to, maybe the discussion we have at the end, but I want to like wonder what like the most iconic Tom Hardy role is. Like, would it be Bane, like hands down, or is there other ones you would have considered?
I
think Max is a more iconic character than Bane is.
I agree. I think the thing with Tom Hardy is he's very like he's a mute, grunty actor, which isn't a criticism by any means, but I think in the general scheme, he's not going to have these standout roles like a Leo would, like a Denzel, just for argument's sake, in the common. I would say it's as iconic. I think it has to be the film centered around, well, him and Furiosa, but I think it's Mad Max. I would say anyway.
I kind of thought that too, and then I posted it on Twitter and like a poll, and Bane ran away with it. But it's tough because like The Dark Knight Rises is my clear third favorite of the Nolan trilogy, but it's just tough because Bane obviously he's like he's a solid villain. I think he does well in the role. But then, I don't know. I would still give it to Max Rockatansky. Is like the more
the character of
role.
Max is more iconic than the character of Bane in film. But I think if you ask me,
but he's only Max once, though.
Yeah, but like which movie is more iconic? It's impossible not to pick the Batman movie.
Yeah, in terms of like lasting impact, as we obviously saw like with Furiosa, like people weren't really returning to the theaters for it, but. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's an interesting discussion. I think it sounds like we're all leaning towards Max. It sounds like the general populace, which makes sense because The Dark Knight Rises is like IMDb top 100 type movie. Mad Max Fury Road it's a super popular niche movie, I'd say. Like in terms of like niche films, it's way on the furthest end of the popular spectrum. Mad Max Fury Road. I don't think
say so. I think
really,
Furiosa
more than a niche film.
I do. I think Mad Max is kind of I mean, again, we're looking at since
theaters, I guess.
I think, I think Furiosa will kind of go down that note more than less because it's not kind of about the Mad Max characters, which is obviously, we've gone into the discussion before. I think Mad Max Fury Road. I think Mad Max, the first three films were high end niche, like that kind of precipice. But I think Mad Max Fury Road kind of entered the commonplace. I know many people who don't watch films who've seen it, and also like again, this means absolutely nothing. So take my word, Mad Max actually has more logs on Letterboxd than Rises, and again, you could say it's more modern.
That's crazy. That's
still like 2015. Like that's still. Crazy. I think Mad Max Fury Road has gone into the populist nature. I think Mad Max Fury Road there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Then. Yeah, you proved me wrong. That's crazy. I did not realize I had that many more logs. But yeah, so Bane, Dark Knight Rises. Is it consensus third of the trilogy for all of you? For me,
it is like by far. Yeah. I think Dark Knight Rises is fine. I don't love it. Whereas I really like Begins and Dark Knight. I think Dark Knight Rises is like a 3-star for me. I think it's a fine film. I do like Bane in it though. Bane's cool.
Yeah.
Funny guy.
Mm-hmm. And then Locke. So I know George, you just watched Locke.
I did just watch Locke. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm like disappointing myself so often between like Challengers and Kinds of Kindness and now like Locke and like movies.
Do not compare Locke to Challengers.
I was
gonna say
no. That you're expecting,
dude. I'm like Alex has it at a 4.5. I have mutuals that have this at a 5. Like this movie is like insane among my mutuals. And I do remember really liking it. I had it rated a long time ago, and I probably had it rated at like a 4. And then like months ago when I was like just removing ratings off a bunch of films, Locke was one of them that I removed this on. So I was excited to like rewatch it. And I don't know, the whole, and I texted you guys this, the whole like in a car, phone call after phone call, bad news after bad news bit, like it got old a little fast. And Tom Hardy's performance is really the only thing that like kept me intrigued because I genuinely think he's fantastic in this movie. Like possibly his best performance. And again, I haven't seen Brunson in a very long time, so I'm excluding that when I say this. But I think he's fantastic in this movie. He has to go through such like an insane array of emotions, constantly changing, constantly reacting to whatever phone call he's receiving. And then and I said this in my Letterboxd review, even when he's not on the phone, he's having these fake conversations with his father, who's obviously not there in the car with him. So he's just going through the whole spectrum of emotion. I think he's fantastic. But the movie's it's very repetitive. After a bit, you kind of see where it's going. His marriage is spiraling downhill. He's trying to make it to London to be with his, I guess, mistress and her, and the birth of their child. He's being fired from work. He's trying not to disappoint his kids. He's yelling at his father for being a shitty father. It feels very repetitive. You kind of you know where the movie's going after a very short period of time. But again, Tom Hardy's performance kind of holds it afloat for me because I do think he's very, very good in this movie. But not a movie I don't know, not a movie I enjoyed as much as I would have liked.
Fair. I mean, I think the production, I appreciate the production, a lot of it. It's cool how they filmed it all in one straight go and live.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm pretty sure it was filmed it was over 1 week of them just pulling a car on the back of a semi, and then they would have the characters call him live, and it's not just pre-recorded stuff. So I think it was an interesting, neat concept. I liked it more than you. I think I gave it 3.5. Tom Hardy, I think that's super great. Just dealing with all these stresses, definitely is able to build such an anxious atmosphere with only just a man sitting in a car fielding phone calls.
But also that's the thing. I don't even think it was that anxious of an atmosphere because every big bit of news happens quickly. He immediately obviously finds out that his mistress, or whatever you want to call her, is having a baby. He immediately tells his wife this, and the wife obviously immediately reacts to that the way any wife would. He almost immediately gets fired from work. He's almost immediately letting his kids down by not watching the soccer game with them. So all of the anxious stuff happened so quickly, and I don't think it rebounded after any of that. I don't know. I think some of the tension worked for me a little better. There's a moment where I thought did his wife kill herself? Because the kid kept calling him, being I haven't heard from mom. She's been in the bathroom for a few hours. Shit, is this really about to be Tom Holland is about to walk in and find his mom dead? But I was gonna say Tom Holland jump scare. Completely forgot he was in this movie. And when that phone call rang, I was like, damn, that voice sounds so fucking familiar. And then I looked at it and it was Tom Holland. I was like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm. Seth, have you seen Locke?
I have. I remember liking Locke, but not loving it. I think it was years ago. I can't remember anything, to be honest. So yeah, I'm watching well.
Yep. And the next film of note is Mad Max Fury Road, which we have talked about obviously at length on multiple occasions. We have a whole Patreon exclusive review dedicated specifically to it. And then we talk about the whole Mad Max lore in our Furios episode, which was really truly just 5 episodes ago. So you probably have combined cumulatively across the podcast 5 hours of Mad Max talk for you to dive into if you want to see more.
We all like Mad Max Fury Road because it's very good.
Spoiler, we all do like it. And then
good.
2015, before we talk about The Revenant, Legend, the only thing, Legend is one of the most iconic movie posters ever, how that's always going around Twitter with the whole The Guardian 2-star review. I think it's so funny every single time with the whole, I don't know. You guys know what the movie poster I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Yeah. So good. It's such a legendary thing to do and just be a fuck you, because you can just obviously just leave it out there, but it works so perfectly. But I have seen Legend. It was years ago, near when it first came out, and I remember I thought it was fine, but I don't think it was really anything more special than fine. But he obviously plays 2 roles in it, Reggie and Ron Gray. Very common theme in Tom Hardy's movies is is gangstery, mafia-like, mob-like, and this is that to a T. But I don't remember loving it, but obviously I don't have it logged. I don't know if either of you have Legend logged.
Yeah,
I don't have it logged, but go, Seth, go.
I would say I think Legend is fine. Very similar. Again, the craze, massive story here, massive backstory, and many stories you could portray. And I think this is a really weird way of doing that. I think Tom Hardy's cool. I think playing 2 is always going to be hard. And I think so. This is classic British Facebook era film where in 2015 like certain scenes would get plastered across because they're quite funny, and I think it's silly and comical, but I think it fails to actually deliver or showcase anything with any real meaning. But again, it's like a 2.5 for me, so similar thoughts to like a Bronson by any means.
Yeah. I went through like a bunch of Tom Hardy movies yesterday. I was at work, and hopefully no one at work listens to our pod. And if you are, sorry for watching movies at work on a Friday. The office was empty, so I don't give a fuck. I started watching Legend, and I didn't finish it because I was absolutely fucking hating it. And which is funny because just before that, I sat through the entirety of Capone, which I ended up
tough double feature
to sit through. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but like everything from like the costume design and the production design and these shot selections felt very like AI generated. Like it just felt very like not lazy. It felt very like it felt like someone like if Chat GPT like had like picture responses, someone typed into Chat GPT like, please make this whatever, what years, please make this 60s suave espionage kind of movie that's very violent, and Legend is what it popped out. It felt very like boring and lazy, and it just felt like a movie for the machine. And I don't know, I wasn't loving it, so I was like, maybe I'm just not in the right mindset after having just watched Capone, which I obviously gave a 0.5 star. So I stopped watching it, and I didn't finish it because it was bad. It's really bad.
Well, that's a glaring review right there. It should tell you all you need to know is that it's not worth finishing, even when you're just doing it on the side at work. Like if the movie's that bad that you're just like only have it on to like give like half your attention to it, it's that bad that you still turn it on. That's a bad film.
So I didn't even lie. I didn't want to disrespect the movie because I don't love logging movies that I didn't finish. Like last night, I probably watched like an hour and 20 minutes of The Dark Knight Rises. But I didn't log it because I didn't finish it. So I don't love logging movies I don't finish. But I'll probably never finish that one. Respectfully, let me throw that out there.
Fair. That same year is when he gets his first Oscar nomination for his performance as John Fitzgerald in The Revenant. I say first as if there's more to come. It's only as of right now. But we'll see if he gets more in the future. But spoiler alert, Bikeriders not going to be happening. No nomination coming for that. He is good in it, though, but he's good in it.
Oh, I mean, George, you just wait for Tom Hardy in the Bikeriders.
But The Revenant, I saw this in theaters, and then I hadn't seen it since until I was doing like an Oscar Best Picture ranking of the last 10 years before these Oscars. And I didn't remember. I don't remember loving it in theaters. I think if I had Letterboxd time, I'd probably give it a 3.5 or a 4, probably 3.5. But I give it a 3 on rewatch. I don't know. It's a movie I wish I liked more, but I just can't get into it because it's like a beautiful looking film. And obviously Leo wins his Oscar for it. Tom Hardy gets nominated, and the landscape is me to a T. I always talk about all the time about anything in the snow I love, and Tom Hardy really goes, or not Tom Hardy does well, but I mean Leo goes like full balls to the wall in this. But I don't know, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on The Revenant, because for me, like on rewatch, I was just like, I just wasn't invested or caring about this movie like I remember doing on first watch.
I said this about Kinds of Kindness, and I feel like now that I've said it, I'm thinking of other movies that kind of fit this, like, I don't want to call it criteria, but just fit this, where like Kinds of Kindness is very much a movie that like it's so much better on first watch when you're experiencing it, because it's like one of those movies where like its unpredictability and its setting is what really captivates you. It's not like gonna like blow your socks away story wise. So I think The Revenant kind of falls in that category where, like you said, it's a beautiful movie. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous looking movie. And you really feel immersed in this snowy. I think they filmed, I have no idea where they filmed. I was going to say something as if I know ball, but I don't know.
Alaska. I'm just going to throw out a guess.
Yeah. Wherever they filmed, they truly immerse you in this.
Give a guess. What? Where did they film it? Give a guess.
Antarctica. Dumb fuck guess. But yeah, it really immerses you in this environment. I would have never guessed Canada. But this movie is like, it's one of those movies where you can say like the setting itself is a character. So on first watch, you're like very much like intrigued. You're like, wow, I love this setting. I love this environment. Like, it's a very like chaotic, a very uncomfortable, unpredictable environment that this movie kind of throws you in. And then on rewatch, you realize that's kind of like one of the only things like the movie truly like has you locked in for, because like it doesn't give you much to care about with like Hugh Glass's story and John Fitzgerald's betrayal of him. Like, all of like the intrigue happens very quickly. Like, all of like Tom Hardy's betrayal, it happens quickly. The obviously the famous bear scene happens quickly, and then the remainder of the movie is just kind of get from point A to point B. You call it like a revenge tour, when in reality it's get from point A to point B, and when you're at point B, that's where you're on your revenge tour, and it's very quick. So it's like I don't know. It's a good movie. It's a great movie. But it's not something you'd necessarily, and I'm talking for myself, it's not something I necessarily care about narratively, more so just like setting wise, and the environment you're put in is, I think, very intriguing.
Seth?
Yeah, I haven't seen this in like 2 years. I think I always just thought it was fine. I did see it on release. I kind of thought the same then, to be honest. I don't think it's bad. I think setting wise, amazing. I don't love Leo in it, to be honest. I think Tom Hardy's pretty good. I think it's just a fine film, but I think it really delves into it. I think the bulk of my enjoyment from this came from the setting and kind of the just the views and really the snowy atmosphere as well. I think it's fine. Probably, if I had to guess, I don't have a rating because it's been a while, but like a 3, maybe a 3.5, probably like a 3, something like that. It's cool. It's fine.
And then a couple years later, he teams up with Christopher Nolan once again for Dunkirk, basically in a plane for the entirety of the film. I was going to say a man of few words. I don't know. I'm sure he says words, but I think he probably says like 5.
I don't
combined.
think he says a word in this movie.
He might. I feel like I picture him saying like a word or
no,
two.
He
like
says
Mike comes or something. But
I'm pretty sure he says like 3 words. But I might be wrong.
Yeah, but still, I think he does great for what the movie is, and this is a movie that I've grown a lot fonder on over time as this ages. I like Dunkirk more and more. But yeah, him and Christopher Nolan, third team up. Third.
Third.
Inception, Dark Knight Rises, and Dunkirk. Yep.
I love Dunkirk. I think I watched it fairly recently again. It's like my second favorite Nolan at this point. I think Dunkirk is fantastic. I really, really do. I think it's a brilliant portrayal. It shows so many angles. I love it. I also think Tom Hardy is like kind of his role as well. It's very Tom Hardy-esque role where he doesn't have to stay
Dude, I was going to
say,
tell me if this is a hot take. Tom Hardy is obviously like Tyler said, he's like a master of accents. Like that's his thing, right? I think his best performances are like Max and Bane and Dunkirk, where he's just relying on like pure expression and like just like his fucking eyes, like he's covered by a mask in The Dark Knight Rises, and he's wearing that masky thing in Dunkirk and in Fury Road for quite some time of the runtime. So like what this man is like able to do with like just his eyes and his facial expression alone is absolutely insane.
No, I agree. I actually, to be honest, I like Tom Hardy. I actually find him quite annoying in some films as well. Like in A Legend, like in a Bikeriders, like in Capone, yeah. Not the real Capone. Robert De Niro is my Capone, just so everyone knows. But yeah, I think I probably agree. I think Tom Hardy excels in like the Mad Max role, or like Bane or Dunkirk, which might not sound like a compliment, because obviously people will be like, "Oh, less dialogue." Dialogue's not the only part of acting. It's about his expression. It's about his mannerisms, and I think he portrays them really, really well. And I really like him in Dunkirk for the little amount of things that he has to do in it.
Yeah, and when I say master of accents, like accents are obviously very subjective. I mean, in terms of he has so many accents in his bag, I think you could easily say he's never given a good like I can see people just hating every accent he's ever given. So when I say he's like a master of accents, I'd say it's more he's done so many, not necessarily that he nails, because I think a lot of them are quite annoying, even though they are silly and fun. But kind of there's a line to it. But no, I get what you're saying. I think he's a great physical actor for sure. He's kind of typecast as his specialty is kind of playing larger than life characters. Like usually people in most of his movies that are like real people, but are such like a grand story behind them. Like I like with, and then like Capone and like Lawless, like people during like these like mob era, with Bronson, with Legend, like all these type of movies. But then he also plays like people like Max, who are just like these mythos of characters. Bane, he just always plays larger than life people. I think he does that very well. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. I think he's a great actor in terms of his physical ability to act. So like when he's in a movie like a Dunkirk, like a Max, like a movies where he's not talking as much, he still can absolutely nail the role to a T and just convey so much emotion without it having to say much. But yeah, Dunkirk's cool. Dunkirk's great. Grows on me every time. I'm sure if I watch it again, it'll just keep raising each time. But then he goes to Venom, which I was disappointed to see George give a 1.5 star.
Yeah,
Venom.
I'm sorry, man.
How did Riley
Dude,
feel? Tell Riley about that, Tyler?
Yeah,
I have not told her about that, but she probably.
So Riley's 5-star review of Venom was, it just says "hear me out," and I was gonna comment on that like no. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I did not have a good time with Venom at all. It's like I get that. Listen, there are a lot of silly movies out there that I love. Like there are, like I'm perfectly fine like with like just a movie being silly and stupid and just like saying fuck it, let me just make you laugh. But like this movie just doesn't do it for me. And then especially like, and I know you guys said this is a hot take, but like after watching Venom 2, like that one landed, like the comedy landed a lot more in Venom 2. Venom and Eddie's relationship landed a lot more for me in Venom 2. So I think, I don't know, Venom 1 just, I don't know. It wasn't funny for me. I didn't care. I think a lot of it was just so stupid and so silly. Like the entire sequence where Eddie crashes his ex-girlfriend or ex-fiance's date and like he ends up in like the lobster tank. Like that should be funny. Like I should laugh at that and it should be like silly enough to get a chuckle out of me. But like, I don't know. The whole movie is just Tom Hardy sweating the entire time profusely. And it just doesn't work for me in this movie. I don't know why. I really didn't like this movie. And honestly, I think my 1.5 is like too high now that I'm like thinking about it.
That's crazy, but that's fair. I mean, it's obviously not a movie for everyone. I know I'm higher on it than most people. I think visually it might be like the best like visual effects of a superhero movie we've seen in like recent, especially from Marvel. Like, especially when you compare it to like Madam Web and there's other Sonyverse movies like Morbius too. Like, I think the symbiote looks so good in this. Like, it looked good in the Raimi stuff too, but like the scene of the symbiote going from person to person with the freaking Eminem song in the background, and just like the Venom character, the visual effects as a whole, I thought compared to like other stuff we've seen in the Sonyverse, I think is like up there with the best of the best. But I mean, it's not comparing it to much with like Morbius and Madam Web. But I mean, even the Marvel stuff, like the MCU stuff, like haven't really been blown away by them visually, other than like Guardians 3 over the past few years. I feel like they've kind of fallen off a little bit there too. But I have a good time with Venom. Obviously, Riley loves it. We have a good time with it. I didn't like the second one as much, but the only time I'd seen that is similar to Old. I watched it at a drive-in movie theater, so not like a full immersive experience. But maybe I'll give it another watch before Venom: The Last Dance. But because I've seen Venom 1 probably 3 or 4 times now, but I've only seen Let There Be Carnage once. But yeah, man, I like it. I like the San Francisco aesthetic. I think I like, Michelle Williams is great actress as well, and I really like freaking. Is it Riz Ahmed? Is that who's the guy? Yeah. I don't know. I just like this cast worked well for me. I like the supermarket woman and her relationship with Venom and Tom Hardy protecting
Chan.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Venom, but it's a movie that I'm not really going to defend to a T. Like I know that for most people, they're going to think it's silly and stupid, but it's just one of those silly movies that I tend to love. But Seth, you've seen both Venoms now, right?
Well, I've seen Venom 1, but I haven't seen Venom 1 since it released. So, just after like 2020, 2021. But I watched Venom 2 last night. So,
and
is that where we're at now?
Well, we skipped over Capone, but I wasn't really going to talk because Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage are back to back, but it's Capone. But Capone sucks ass, and George and I hate it. So
yeah, fuck Capone. Actually, I have it 2-star. Maybe that should be lower. But yeah, Capone's not very good. Yeah, Venom 2. Man, the film's just fucking crazy. Like it's the silliest film ever. Man. It kind of makes me want to go back and watch.
Fucking funny. The entire movie, every dumb fuck line had me crying. I texted you, and I even put this one in my fucking letterbox review when Venom goes on stage completely silent because obviously no one knows what they're looking at, and some guy in the crowd goes, That's an awesome costume. And Venom just goes, thank you, one person. It's just so fucking funny. And then at the end, what does he say? He says, Carnage basically goes like, I'm going to kill you, father. And the priest is like, nah. And then Carnage is like, not you, him. And he points to Venom, and Venom's like, oh shit.
It's like
it's so fucking stupid.
It's so like it knows what it's doing. It's just self-aware stupid. It's like when we see the new Venom, the trailer for that, and there's like a horse Venom.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? This is crazy. But I think there's some like weird roommate sort of friendship sincerity there, which I like. Wood Harrison's just crazy as well. Like Michelle Williams, it's just such a weird role for it to take. I think it's fine.
I cannot believe we have a Venom trilogy. That's insane.
Yeah,
that we got.
I mean,
3 stars.
the first Venom made almost $1 billion, like $840 million. You make a lot of money. Yeah,
we have an Ant-Man trilogy. I mean,
yeah, we do.
True.
Yeah,
I need to rewatch Venom Under the Carnage. You guys are making me want to watch it now.
It's. I give it a 3 star. I think it's pretty fun. Like it's so silly. Self-aware.
Look at this. Hold on. I need to turn my other laptop around. Look at this Venom poster I just found.
Oh, I saw someone put that in our Discord. I saw that.
That's so funny.
So
what a stupid fucking poster.
But I'm excited for Venom: The Last Dance. That's that trailer.
When
man,
is
that
that?
It moves me. Like October. But that
Kinda
trailer,
look
man, crazy. And it sounds like that's why I think I might like let the Carnage more and rewatch, because I think they just like lean fully into it. And it looks like Venom: The Last Dance is like you're not even leaning into that at that point. You're like fully fallen in. And it's like the way there's like a sincerity to it, to how like silly they go with, like it doesn't it's like it just doesn't feel forced, it just feels natural for like the Venom verse to be like this. It's kind of weird that like you said, like we got a trilogy of this, but like none of the other Sony movies caught on. Like we got a Venom trilogy, we didn't get the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy. Like that's just crazy that it worked that way. But Sony, who knows what they're doing. And then the final one to mention, Spider-Man No Way Home. Obviously, he's just in the post-credit scene, and it looks like from Venom 3's trailer, which a lot of the hardcore MCU fans were upset about, is it looks like they're basically just like uncanonizing all that. Like the symbiote went into the other universe, so like making it just go back, which is like, to me at this point with MCU, like I just don't care about anything. Like the overall narrative side of things. Like I'm watching Venom 3 for a horse Venom. I'm not watching Venom 3 for the continuation of this Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, is there any Tom Hardy movies that we haven't mentioned that you guys want to talk about? Otherwise, I've not seen an episode of Peaky Blinders, but you have to mention.
I've seen the first 3 seasons of Peaky Blinders. Really good. I need to watch it. I'm just going to say, because I do have to go, so I'm just going to give you this now, because I'm assuming you guys are going to do it anyway.
Yep.
Top 5 Tom Hardy films from my point of view, so I'll just give this now. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That would be next. Go for it.
5, Layer Cake. 4, Inception. 3, Warrior. 2, Dunkirk. 1, Mad Max Fury Road. There we go. That's my top 5. So,
hell yeah.
I will bid you all adieu, and I will see you later.
Awesome. Peace out. George, you're a huge fan of Peaky Blinders, right?
Yeah, dude. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, dude.
The movie was just
because the movie then used. Yeah, dude, you have to watch it. It's so good. It's one of those shows where everything comes together to just make this like insane experience. I think I also said this last week when we spoke about it, or 2 weeks ago, whenever we spoke about it. Cillian Murphy's best performance, in my opinion. Also, Tom Hardy's best performance, in my opinion. I think he is sensational in this TV show. He does not have a chunk of screen time. Like he's not a traditional supporting character the way like Jesse Pinkman is in Breaking Bad. Like he's not one of the top billed supporting characters, but god damn, man, he commands every single scene he is in. And it's so like we've seen Cillian and Tom together. What have they been in together? They've been in Dunkirk together. They've been in Inception together. So they have this like experience alongside the Dark Knight Rises.
I was gonna say
Dark Knight. I completely forgot that Cillian is in that movie too for a little bit. But them in Peaky Blinders, is like they're going head to head, which like you don't see that in like they don't have any screen time together in Dunkirk. They don't have any screen time together in Dark Knight Rises. Jesus Christ, I just said the movie. What am I missing? Inception. They have screen time together in Inception, but they're not like going back and forth. Like in Peaky Blinders, dude, it's literally like you're watching two heavyweights, two of the best actors working today just go back and forth, and it's so fucking amazing. There's this one, and it's like famous. It goes around TikTok all the time, so you might have even seen it, man. But like Cillian Murphy's Tommy Shelby is basically like, dude, you crossed the line, and then Tom Hardy just goes on this like 2-3 minute monologue about how like Tommy Shelby crosses the line regularly, and it's just, oh my god, he's so good in it. Yeah, you should watch Peaky Blinders. It's a good show.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch it before the movie comes out. I'll get there's what, 4 seasons? 5?
5.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of content to get through, but I'll give it a while. I mean, I've heard nothing but great things. I remember I tried it years ago, and I got like an episode, and I was like, man, I need subtitles for this. I'm not understanding a word these people are saying. But
yeah, Tom Hardy's accent is impossible to dissect sometimes. Like, dude, like you feel like you're listening to a foreign language when he speaks.
Mm-hmm. But with that, we'll get into our ranking. So Seth gave us top 5. I was going to do my top 10. So if you have 10, go for it.
I could do 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, I have 11. So I'm just going to give you 11. Fuck it.
Yeah, go for it. Just run through all of them.
Actually, that's a lie. I have 12 technically, because I'll include No Way Home. So I have 12. So at number 12, I got Venom. Sorry. That's on me. At number 11,
dude, Venom's lower than Capone.
Oh,
you're crazy.
Capone. Sorry. Okay,
I was gonna leave the call.
My fault. Okay, so now that brings me to 13. Okay, at 13, I have Capone. Much worse than Venom. Yes, I apologize. Then I have Venom at 12. I have Locke at 11, and I have Venom 2 at 10, which probably sounds like insane, but like if you ask me which one I'd rather rewatch right now, I'm picking Venom 2. My number 9 is Blackhawk Down. My number 8 is The Revenant. I have Spider-Man No Way Home at 7. I have Warrior at 6. Dark Knight Rises is my number 5. Marie Antoinette is at 4. Dunkirk 3, and then Inception at 2, and Mad Max Fury Road at 1.
Wow, we have some similarities. I've seen 18 films total. I just have my top 10 ranked though. Number 10, I have The Revenant, which sounds super low, but whatever. 9, I have Locke. 8, I have Bronson. 7, Warrior. 6, The Dark Knight Rises. 5, Venom. And then our top 4 are bang on the same. Marie Antoinette at 4, Dunkirk at 3, Inception at 2, Mad Max Fury Road at 1.
Hell yeah.
Venom, The Dark Knight Rises, Warrior, and honestly Bronson and Locke. That 5 through 9, I don't know. You could scramble those up anyway, and I'd be like, whatever, sure, fine ranking. They're all movies I like, but like I don't care really enough about to like talk about much more. And The Revenant at 10 is just disappointing because I feel like people are gonna love that movie so much, but whatever. I'm probably gonna post a TikTok of these rankings, and I'll leave Venom at 5 just because people get pissed off about that and whatever. But at this point on TikTok, I think I need to publicly execute myself if I want to get more than 1,000 views. So whatever.
Jesus Christ,
dude, TikTok sucks, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, but that was a crazy thing to say.
Anything
and you wouldn't even get views because TikTok would ban the video.
Yeah, correct. I'd get views on X at least, but so that's the end of our Tom Hardy discussion. Now let's kind of get into a little bit of trailers and movie news for the week. So trailers, I don't think you've seen it, but the Nosferatu trailer. So I won't go into detail of that, obviously, but I loved it. It comes out Monday, I believe, in terms of like when like it's released on internet and TV and people can see it other than seeing it in front of the Bikeriders. But looks way scarier than I thought it was going to be. It definitely looks like it's going to be Egger's most scary film. If I had to compare it to any of his films, it looked the most The Northman-esque, but just way more terrifying. Looks incredible. I can't wait for it. Could be easily the movie of the year. We got the Penguin trailer coming out on Max in September. I thought it looked pretty awesome. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. I love the universe. I love the Reeves verse of the Batman universe, and you get Colin Farrell coming back. You get this whole underbelly of the crime and mafia in Gotham. But what did you think about the Penguin trailer?
I love it. I think it's awesome. And yeah, exactly what you said. I feel like a lot of the Batman content we have had in live action, kind of all of like the crime stuff, it's always like an afterthought. Even in like Batman Begins, like it's obviously like that's God, Jesus, I'm forgetting his name. Not
Scarecrow? No,
Falcone. Falcone, yeah, Carmine Falcone. In the Batman Begins, like he gets taken down pretty much almost immediately, like before Scarecrow shows up and is like the official villain. So the crime stuff is always kind of an afterthought. I mean, obviously the Dark Knight dives into it a lot deeper than Batman Begins or the Dark Knight Rises or any of the early like Burton films or Clooney films. So I'm excited to see that. I don't know if I like. Obviously, I love this universe a lot. The Batman is my most logged film on Letterboxd. I just don't know if I care about the Penguin like all that much. I think it's Colin Farrell's insane. I think he's amazing, and I'm really excited to, maybe finally watch like a real Al Capone, something, because that's pretty much what he's doing. But I'm very excited. I'm obviously very excited. Any more Batman content until the movie comes out, and I'll be dialed in.
We also got the Smile 2 trailer releasing October 18th.
Oh, yeah.
I forget. You liked Smile. Seth hated Smile, right?
I liked Smile. Seth hated Smile.
What'd you think of the trailer for Smile 2?
Fucking crazy, man. Seth, if you're watching, if you listen to the rest of the episode on Monday or whenever, you're nuts, dude. That's such like a shoe-in for Seth to love. Like, it's so fucking like, it's creepy. It makes your skin crawl. It's such a like unique take on horror. Like this fucking smile demon haunting you or following you around. It's very much like, it's got like It Follows vibes kind of, but like replace demonic STD with demonic smiling. So I'm very excited. I really like it. I think the like final sequence of Smile is so fucking frightening. Have you seen Smile?
Nope.
Do you mind if I spoil it?
Is it something about a house burning down?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, go for it.
But yeah, like basically, this woman goes to this like house, and like this demonic figure that's like supposed to resemble her mother, like starts not chasing her, just like really creepily crawling out of the room, and then like the smile gets her, and she like burns herself. Dude, it's so it's insane. It's insane. I gotta rewatch Smile, dude. It's so fucking insane. I actually genuinely, and I'm gonna text Seth immediately after this episode asking him to rewatch Smile, because there's no way that's such a shoe-in for like a Seth to love kind of movie. Can you watch it?
I will for sure before Smile 2 comes out. So I'll give it a watch. And Smile 2 is Lucas Gage. I'm a big fan of Lucas Gage. Get to see him more.
Dude,
but
Smile's
I'll watch it.
Scary, man. I saw that movie by myself in theaters, almost shit my pants. And not only was I by myself, like no party, like Victoria didn't come with me, I was by myself. There was not another soul in that movie theater. Dude, I kept looking over my shoulder. I was shitting myself. That was fucked up movie, man. Fucked up movie.
And the final trailer we got this week is for A Real Pain, starring Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, also in theaters October 18th, same day as Smile 2. This is a Sundance film. Got pretty solid reactions out the gate. Trailer looks cool. It looks like something that should be a good movie. Looks kind of like, just from trailer reactions, probably like a bang on 3.5 type film for me.
Yeah.
But so I don't expect anything crazy, but it looks good. And I really like Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg. So I don't see myself disliking this. I know Jesse Eisenberg was in Sasquatch Sunset, I believe. So maybe that leaves a sour taste in your mouth, but I like him a lot. And then now on to movie news. Unfortunately, rest in peace to Donald Sutherland. He sadly passed away at the age of 88. I feel like we've been losing a lot of legends lately in terms of both acting and sports world. Has been losing a ton of legends as of late, with both on the broadcasting side and the athlete side as well. So always sad. Like, I mean, he's been in so many great films, but the one that obviously sticks out to me the most are like the Hunger Games movies. That are just so great. And obviously we also have Philip Seymour Hoffman and those who passed away in the middle of that trilogy, actually. But just that those movies are cast so well at having these larger than life villains that are just so like easy to hate just based on how good their performance is. And Donald Sutherland was so easy as President Snow to just absolutely hate, just want to see him get eviscerated. And that's fully accredited to his amazing performance. So I need to see more of his earlier films for sure. And so unfortunately passed away at age of 88, rest in peace. But then other movie news, Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis is set to release September 27th in theaters via Lionsgate. And also interesting enough, Lionsgate said that they're not going to pay for the marketing of the film. So they're just getting the distribution rights, which sort of makes sense based on how the Odyssey we've known for the past year of this movie just was not getting picked up by anyone. It just seemed like a failure. So it makes sense that finally to get it picked up to be distributed, they had to make some concessions to market it. And sounds like he's going to be spending like 15 to 20 million of his own money to market the film, which its a budget is way more than that. So like usually films get like the same amount of their budget goes into marketing, but I think Megalopolis doesn't really need it because I don't think you can market this movie enough to make it to where like this isn't going to be a profitable movie. But it's coming to theaters September 27th, and I can't wait to see it where we fall on it.
I'm still really excited. I think it's such a cliche thing to say in our like film community, but like when the rating graph looks like all over the place, like that just gets me more excited because that's just like, okay, now I'm excited to see where I'll land. But also now it's coming out, like you said, on September 27th. I am pretty sure Doug will be in New York for the film festival, so I'm very excited to watch him watch the movie because obviously I'm going to see it with Doug. I don't know if Owen will be here at that time or K Meeks. Honestly, I don't know if the two of them got film festival tickets. I think Owen did. I don't know about Kevin. But yeah, I think I'm more excited to watch Doug watch the movie than watch the movie itself.
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy experience for him. But yeah, can't wait to see this thing. A Megan spinoff titled Soulmate is releasing January 2nd, 2026 in theaters. The film follows a man who acquires an android to cope with the loss of his recently deceased wife. Someone already made the comment on Twitter, but it sounds exactly like the Be Right Back episode of Black Mirror. But I'm sure it'll have a more horror take as opposed to a more solemn take. The TikTok trend that Cam did with Russell from Up, where it's like, I hate the way that you talk, the way that you walk. That's how I feel about Blumhouse at this point. Anything about Blumhouse is just like, I hate you so much. And this is probably gonna be stupid. Megan is still probably my least favorite theater experience I've ever had because horror movies should just never be PG-13. One, because you can't make them as cool, but two, because then you get 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds allowed to go see it without parents involved. And it was a fully sold out theater of just junior high school and high schoolers just running around the theater, talking, screaming on their phones. I was like, I hate this so much. And Soulmate will probably be more of the same. But what did you get? Were you low on Megan too, or did you like Megan?
No, I'm pretty sure I'm at like a 2 or a 2.5. So just kind of like a meh, whatever movie. I think my criticisms are just like very like standard across the board, where it's just like PG-13 rating kind of holds this movie back from being like something as effective as like an OG Chucky or something like that. So I'm not really excited for this. Also, the Soulmate is stupid. There should not be a TE at the end of that.
Right. I was gonna say I think it's silly, and I kind of like how the numbers have nothing to do with the number of the film, but I agree. Why is the TE there? Just have the Soulmate with the 8 ending it. You kind of ruin it there. I don't get it. But yeah, it's the most fun thing about this franchise for me is simply going to be seeing what names they come up for the future ones, because the movies itself I don't give a crap about. But we also have, which is Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie, also Blumhouse, maybe, I don't know. But Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie is releasing March 13th, 2026. Obviously, The Exorcist Believer tried to reinvigorate that franchise, and it fell flat in its face. But Mike Flanagan's the guy who's very well respected in the horror game. But I haven't even seen the original Exorcist, so I can't really say if I'm excited or not. But yeah, whatever. Mike Flanagan, we'll see what you got. And then Jordan Peele. I feel like we've already said this like a billion times, but that's because we've been talking about it on the Patreon exclusive episode this week, which is Nope. So make sure you check out our Patreon if you want to see our Nope review, which is a really good review. But Jordan Peele's next film is releasing October 23rd, 2026, almost 2 years after we were expecting to see it, which was December 25th of this year. It was when the film was initially going to come out. Then with the strikes and delays, pushed it back 2 years. So yeah, going to be a while before we see Jordan Peele. But then we got some casting news. Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan are going to star in Beef Season 2 as the couple. It was originally going to be Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway, but that didn't work out. Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan are great. Carey Mulligan especially, I think, is fantastic. But I'm still disappointed. I wanted Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway so bad. I like Beef Season 1 a lot, so no matter who they cast, I was going to be watching Season 2. But damn, man.
That's also like, damn, like, that's like, why are they telling us that? You know, like, why do we care? Like, oh, we almost had this cast. Like, because one, now everyone's like immediately pinning like Jake against Oscar and Anne against Carey. And it's like, these are 4 all-timers right here. Like, and now it's like, all we're doing is like, damn, what could have been, when in reality, we still have an insane duo. That's an insane duo. Any way you mix this would have been Oscar and Anne would have been insane. Jake and Carey would have been insane.
Jake and Oscar, Carey
and Oscar would have been, they all would have been
the,
insane, dude.
Yeah, but it's just disappointing because I love Jake Gyllenhaal and Hathaway so much. So it's like I'm more disappointed not to see them. But if you're going to replace them with 2 people, you can't really get much better than those 2. So it's still going to be great. I'm excited for Beef Season 2. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are going to be starring in a crime thriller, RIP or R.I.P. with Joe Carnahan set to direct. We already saw that Matt Damon and Casey Affleck are obviously going to be in that. The Instigators movie this summer. I think Matt Damon is doing it more right than any movie star in the game, because at this point he has his production company. His best friends are Ben Affleck and Casey Affleck, and they just make movies together. That's pretty much all they do. I feel like Matt Damon has to be like the most fulfilled Hollywood actor right now, where all he does is just make movies with his buddies.
Yeah, just literally just with his boys all the time. Yeah. and when he's not making movies with his boys, he's making movies with Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, he's got it down. You know, Hollywood's a hard place to navigate. Yeah, he's solved it. He figured out how to make it happen. Jennifer Lawrence is going to be starring in a murder mystery movie inspired by the Real Housewives for A24 and Apple. Interesting, because A24 and Apple also collaborated in Causeway, which was Jennifer Lawrence. So like weird that those 3 are like together for another movie. But I don't know, a murder mystery movie. It has me intrigued. The Real Housewives. Well, I have no clue where this could go, but cool. Sounds interesting. I'll be sad.
Yeah. What? Am I not familiar with the Real Housewives? I thought that was just a reality show of.
That's what I thought too. And I think
are they be murdering people?
I don't know. Maybe there's a murder mystery spin on it, but sounds intriguing enough to have me interested.
There's one episode of the Real Housewives where they're like in court crying, being accused of murder, and then the very next episode they're in their tanning beds.
Sounds about right for what I imagine that show is like. Will Smith is set to star in a new sci-fi thriller, Resistor, for Sony. The film follows the discovery of a device that can reflect gravity, but those who discover it are thrown into prison after they refuse to suppress the truth of its discovery. Wild synopsis, but Will Smith is like a great movie star that we have very few left. And from Bad Boys 4, whether you like that movie or not, I think everyone can walk away from it saying Will Smith still has it in terms of like his physique still there. He's still energetic. He's still lively on the screen. We saw the behind the scenes stuff, obviously. So he's still very much peak movie star potential. And yeah,
he's also like, he's got a science fiction bag too. Like I feel like everyone obviously associates him with the Bad Boys franchise and comedies, and now his Oscar in King Richard. But like, he's got Men in Black 1, 2, and 3. He's got Independence Day. He's got I, Robot. He's got, I don't know if you would consider I Am Legend science.
I was gonna
fiction.
say it's like borderline, but
yeah, like dystopian science fiction maybe. But like I don't like After Earth, but he's got After Earth.
He's got Hancock.
He's got Hancock, which I guess we'll call science fiction.
I guess superhero movies are science fiction to a degree.
Yeah. So I feel like he just hasn't dove back into science fiction in a while, so it could be interesting.
Yeah. And then final bit of movie news is the budget for the Russo brothers and Netflix's The Electric State is reportedly $300 million. It is starring Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, Ke Huy Quan, Giancarlo Esposito, Anthony Mackie, and Brian Cox. And I think the one tweet I saw quote tweeting that's like summed it up the best, and it was just like saying like there's an algorithm ass cast, and it's just like, dude, it's so true. Like especially Ke Huy Quan, ever since Everything Ever All at Once. Like I love the guy, but I feel like he's just getting thrown into movies.
He was in like Loki, yeah.
But
like even beyond, like one, that's a ridiculous budget for a Russo brothers Netflix movie. But two, and I think we've talked about this on the pod, and I think we talked about it after we talked about Damsel. Hollywood has no idea what to do with Millie Bobby Brown. Not a fucking clue. Zero clue what to do with this poor girl, which sucks because she's a great actress. She has that charm. She has that screen presence. Like, I didn't love Damsel. I think that movie sucked, but like, it wasn't because of her. If anything, she was the only reason I gave it like an extra half a star. And it sucks because like, I feel like, you know, and obviously she's what, 21? How old? I don't even know how old she is.
Something like that.
She's obviously still insanely early in her career, but like, I feel like we're being deprived of like true Millie Bobby Brown potential. Cause like, you go back and you watch Stranger Things episodes and you're like, damn, like this girl can act. Like this girl can truly like act.
Yeah, I used to joke about it back when like Stranger Things was popular and like her first like movies were like the Enola Holmes stuff. I was like, oh, like Netflix just owns her. But now I'm like actually trying to think like, does Netflix own Millie Bobby Brown?
They actually might own her.
Like, do they have like her birth certificate like in
they
their
have
hands?
to have like a contract where it's like, yo, you got to make 10 Netflix films over a 10-year period and then you're free, you know? Like
I'm pulling around
now I'm googling Millie Bobby Brown Netflix. What contract? Like, does she have
she was in Godzilla King of Monsters, so I guess that's not Netflix.
Yeah,
but she's been in 9 movies. Well, that was her first movie in 2019, and then Enola Holmes Netflix, Enola Holmes 2 Netflix, Godzilla vs Kong. So I guess the Godzilla movies, but shit, she's only been in 5 movies. That's crazy.
What?
Godzilla King of Monsters, Enola Holmes, Godzilla vs Kong, Enola Holmes 2, Damsel.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is very interesting.
She was an executive producer of Damsel and a producer of Enola Holmes and Enola Holmes 2. So yeah, maybe it's like if she's already getting producer credits at age 20 and executive producer credits at like 21, it must just be like a scratching each other's back. Like, I'll keep doing Netflix stuff if you allow me to just keep pumping my producer credits.
Look at this clickbaity bullshit. So I just Googled Millie Bobby Brown Netflix contract. First article that comes up was a Yahoo Movies article that says Millie Bobby Brown owes a debt to Netflix. So I'm like, oh shit. What debt does she have to owe? First sentence, Millie Bobby Brown thinks she owes a debt of gratitude to Netflix. Fuck you, dude.
Damn, I was hoping it'd be something like when she's a kid on Stranger Things that she like broke some cameras. Yeah. Like, you're fucked now.
Yeah, I was like, damn, this is about to get saucy. And it was just a debt of gratitude.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
It's like when a kid's like Dine and Dash and like classic movies and they have to like go wash dishes in the back. It's like when she was a kid, she like tripped over a camera and broken like 6 Netflix movies now. And if you want to pay this off. But yeah,
stupid fucking headline, man.
She's like married to Bon Jovi's kid. She's like 21. Yeah. She's been like in TV shows. She's lived a whole ass life before she could legally drink.
Yeah, that seriously, like that's insane. Which is crazy because like then you think about like Emma Stone. Like Emma Stone didn't gain like Oscar notoriety until like her 30s. So you're like,
I mean, she hasn't been in anything notable since Superbad.
Yeah, but you're like, all right. So like obviously, like being 20 years old in the film industry is significantly different than being 20 years old in like an athletic space. I guess you're 20 years old as an athlete. And you're like, shit, I got to get my shit together. I got like 7 or 8 good years of prime athlete. 20 years old as an actress, you're like, I could do whatever I want for 15 years. And when I'm 35, I'll still be like on the significantly younger end of my career.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm always interested to see where people like her end up. Like, because will she just say, I have enough money for me, my kids, and just chill? Or will she like try and be like an actress for the next 20 years of her life? Because like you said, she's so early on in her career. But that does it for the episode today, our Tom Hardy special. On Wednesday this week, we'll have a Q&A episode, which we filmed last week. That's a lot of fun. A lot of great questions are on there. On Thursday, we have a real quick draft, which is a draft of European movies in the European language, in the language of European origins that is not English, that takes place also in a country in Europe. So a lot of conditions there, but it's just going to be best European movies is going to be the title because I don't care. But it was in honor of the Euros 2024 going on right now. Friday, like we mentioned multiple times, is our Nope review, which I think was one of our better Patreon reviews for sure. We had all 4 of us on there. So go check out our Patreon in the description down below. Thank you to all our patrons who currently are patrons. Shout out to all of you for allowing us to do this each and every week. And our executive producers, Stefan Johnson, Sean Morales, and Stefan Niebrick, the King of Kings. Thank you so much for making this happen every week and allowing us to do what we love on this podcast. But with that, we will see you all on Wednesday for our Q&A. Peace out.